Before we call our meeting to order, let's stand and have a pledge and a prayer. Will you join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing. Father, we thank you for this time together. God, we ask you that you would protect the students and the staff here every day that they are on this campus, that you would put a hedge of protection around them. We pray for wisdom and guidance as we make decisions for the district, and we thank you for the blessings that you've given to each of us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. And good job, little guy, saying the pledge. I heard that. That sounded great. It did sound great. I loved it. Good job. I will officially call the regular board meeting for September to order. And the first thing we're going to do is we have some Cobra Pride Awards, and Miss Curry is going to hand those out.
I am, yes.
So if you want to come up and tell us about them.
Sure. We have some special guests with me here today. They're kind of a mix of our parents and community members and people that work here. So a couple weeks ago we had a fire on the side of the hill after school, and we had some very responsive people that caught it pretty quickly, contained it before the fire department could get here. So it was kind of on the other side of the elementary library, headed up towards the gas tanks at the bus barn.
Oh.
So had these people not caught it, it would have gone up the hill pretty quickly. So I just thought they should be recognized.
Yes.
I just happened to be walking down Cobra Drive at that time and saw them, and so then we kind of called Dr. Murphy, got everything taken care of. So they are here today so we can award them. So
Good.
we have Jeremy Holland. This is Miss Holland. Kindergarten parent night, so he was headed to that.
Jeremy, don't sit down yet because we're going to get a picture of the whole group of responders.
We have Josh Woodall, who is our manager of our new cleaning company, SSC, so he stepped in to help as well. We have Monroe Brashears, who is one of the parents of a couple of kiddos in my building, and he's also
You work for the volunteer fire department? Okay. Thank you.
We have Mark Burfine. Is he in the back? Mark? Okay, Mark's not in the back, but Mark, they ran to get fire extinguishers pretty quickly, him and John, so John, go ahead and come on out. And then, like I said, they had it contained pretty quickly, so it's a really, really good thing. We just wanted to show our token of appreciation for them. So.
Okay. Wait, guys, y'all stand right in front here so that Hayden can get your picture, because we'll put a blurb about it somewhere that y'all are like, y'all were the heroes for the day, because that could have been a bad deal.
And it was a hot day. They
And it
were
was
pretty warm by
probably
the time I
really
got
dry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was dry.
Yeah.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate
Good to see you.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in tonight. Appreciate you. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Thank you all for
That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to move into our consent agenda items. The board has had a chance to look over the things that are on here. There was a board-to-board transfer that we signed the paperwork on prior to the meeting starting, and the rest of it is, a lot of it is just kind of the state required information that we have to turn in annually.
I've only got one question.
Okay.
On the check register, this is just for my knowledge,
Yes,
you get several repeat numbers on checks.
those are, well, before I
Different
speak,
amounts.
let me, what section are you looking at? Because
Just
I've
the check
probably
register.
asked this question before.
The check register, there's several.
Are you looking at check numbers?
Check numbers.
Can you respond to that?
What's the question?
Okay, so for instance, right here on this front page, where you see a range of the same check numbers, can you tell us, I've asked this question before too.
I had to pull from e-finance instead of Cognos this month because Cognos was down. This register is showing how much was to each code a person was coded to.
So those are not actual check?
Yeah,
no?
those are checks, it's just, it's broke down into smaller amounts over on the side.
It's one check.
So it's one check.
One check.
One check.
That's what I figured, but it breaks
Yeah.
down to some.
So one
individual
check
parts.
to Colonial Life,
And then you add
Add all
all
those
that.
numbers.
and that
up,
was
I
the
figured
amount
out
of the
the-
check. Okay. Was that your question, Corey?
Mhm.
Okay.
But it is a different approach because unfortunately our reporting system.
Cognos is down.
Right, and was
Okay.
unable to get the report from the state. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Tammy. Are any other questions on the consent items? If not, we will consider them approved by unanimous consent, and we will move into the superintendent's update. Dr. Murphy, we have a financial review.
Yeah, we just have for you kind of where we're at August-wise and then year-to-date in terms of the overall amount, you know, with the expenditures that have taken place coinciding. The biggest reduction that you see year-to-date is the bonuses went through, and with that, we do not have the revenue reflecting in the same amount at this point in time is one of the reasons that your overall balances are down slightly. And of course, we'll begin the collection process here shortly going into the fall.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, because we're just, technically, this is 2 months into
Correct.
the school year.
and then the other item just kind of shows how we're tracking kind of year-to-date in terms of the overall expenses associated with and revenue collected at this point in time. As you can see, roughly 13% of the expenditures, but only 4%
Yes.
of the revenue collection. So
Mhm.
that's all I have at this point. We did kind of move the agenda around a little bit to have Ray Beardsley here. First of all, is there any questions with item A from any board members on the financial review of the year-to-date summary or the revenue expense column? Before I forget it, the other thing before I announce and introduce Ray is I've given you some hard copies of building level as well as district level attendance. Those demographics are not in this meeting. I prepared those items for you during our work session
Yeah.
and didn't hand them out, so just you can take those with you.
Okay.
They're hard copies of kind of our current enrollment trends. And the white copies district, and then the different copies underneath to represent each building, and then the final white copy at the end shows you the number of students who are homeschool students throughout our district by grade level. So just want you to have that information.
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right.
Okay.
Ray, we'll turn it over to you and allow you to share some information.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Nice to have you once again, Ray.
Thank you for having me here tonight.
Yes,
Always love coming and visiting with the board.
yes. We always learn something from you.
There's a couple extras for you.
Okay.
So on the right-hand side of your packet is the financial review we do for your district every year, and we update it 2 or 3 times a year as new information becomes available. First page is your assessment. And on your assessment, your real estate, remember, we're always a year behind. You're a year behind on county taxes, which is assessment, and we're a year behind on state funding as well. So we're always a year behind. So this is the 2021 tax year, and it's for the 22-23 school year. So our real estate grew from 345.1 million to 352 million. Personal property grew from 54.7 to 62.1. And let me stop and tell you about this. This is across the state. There was a problem with the programming that the state finance department was using for taking cars and trucks and valuing them. And we've all been complaining that something's not right with the numbers we're seeing. And we kept telling the governor's office, those like, finally looked into it, no one will say who's at fault for it, but they've agreed that there was a problem. And so they corrected it. Well, across the state, everybody's personal property grew this year considerably. So yours grew from 54.7, as I said, to 62.1. Utilities and carriers, which is primarily gas and oil transmission lines, grew from 10.9 to 12.1, and your total was 410.7 million to 426.3 million. So if you go right to left, 3 places, that's a value of a meal. So a meal in Fountain Lake is $426,308 at 100%, which you're not going to collect. Occasionally you will, but not very often. We take the state average, which is 95. In the middle of the page, we consider your meal worth $404,994. That's state average. Now, yes, the state will make you whole to a degree. Most schools, they make them whole for sure, but y'all, it's a little different story. So it's what we like to use. Now, the 22 assessment is not final. We've talked to the Garland County Assessor's Office several times, and the numbers we're hearing on Fountain Lake, and they have not certified the numbers, and they've not turned them in yet. We're still in the process. Looks like you're right at 10%. We don't think you're going to have a rollback from what we're getting from the Garland County. That's not in stone. We could have a rollback. Now, what a rollback means is if you've climbed by more than 10% in your real estate only, it has nothing to do with personal property or utilities and carriers, it's real estate. If it climbs by more than 10%, we have to run a calculation. It's called a rollback calculation that, of course, with the state, nothing's simple. It's not just 10%. There's a little more to it than that, so that has to be done. The county collector's office in Garland County has done this before. I have some counties you talk about rollback and they look at you with a puzzle, like what are you talking about? But Garland County's dealt with it before, so they're familiar with it. But then there's a division called Assessment Coordination. It's part of the Department of Ed. That division will take the assessment and look at it also again to see whether it qualifies for rollback. And at the November quorum court meeting, that's when they do it. If it qualifies, they'll roll back your millage at 1/10 of a mil or more, whatever it takes to bring it down below 10%. But like I say, right now, we're thinking it's going to be really close, but maybe not over, but like I say, it's not set. We're still working on it. Sure.
So, isn't Saline County also doing a reappraisal?
Sure. Let's see, I think Saline as well. Your last reappraisal was in 17, and then you should have had an appraisal in 20.
So Saline's not doing one this year?
Saline is, but Saline will have to turn their numbers into Garland County.
Okay.
In terms of setting the overall rate, it'll only be set within the confines because our district resides in Garland County.
Right. Garland's
So
the lead.
is your information based on both of those counties' reassessments?
Yes.
Because I was thinking it was going to be way above.
Again, that's the
10%.
numbers we're hearing from the assessor. Don't notice to it, this is early.
Right.
Used to, you would get these numbers in September, and they would notify the board, but now all of the counties gotten where it's October to November, it's later and later. I'm sure it's because they just got so much going on, but it's later and later before they actually turn us in the numbers, which is called an abstract. They'll turn in an abstract that comes to the superintendent, and it shows what the numbers are. It's your total real estate, total personal property, total utility carry. We have not got that final number yet.
Okay.
So that's our problem. We don't have a final number.
We've heard numbers as high as 40% and numbers as low as what he's alluding to. So we just really do not know.
But comfortably, we should be able to think at this time we're going to be, if we're above 10%, we're gonna have 10%.
We will have a
We're
10%
gonna have a 10%
increase in revenue.
in revenue.
Yes, the
Is that-
problem,
is
That's
that a fair
that's what we're hearing. And we're gonna talk with that's some good news with that.
There
So
is.
we'll talk about that here in a minute.
okay, okay.
But I'll
Okay.
show you some options that we have.
I'll jump on.
So, no, you're fine. I wish I had more exact numbers, but obviously I'm dependent on the county and they're just, I know they're busy and got a lot going on. It just,
Yeah.
it'll be, hopefully in the next 30 days, Dr. Murphy will get some more information and we'll get more information to present
Okay.
and give to you. Before I move on, because we're going to come back to this page again in relation to something else in a minute, but any other questions related to the assessment page?
But the rollback only affects real estate.
Only the rollback
Is
is
based
based on real estate.
on that
But
increase in real
if
estate.
personal property exceeds 10%, it doesn't matter.
Right, only if real estate does.
Right.
So looking at yours, just think about this. You've got to have a $35 million increase. And even we had a good year last year, but last year you had 7 million.
Yeah.
So you had a $35 million increase. And they're saying that you're going to have close to that. But we're not sure if that's just the total or just.
It will be compared off the 21 real estate year of 352,000 is, or 352
Yeah.
million is what you're alluding to. That'll be the baseline year.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Because that's been a conversation that.
That was the amount last year, so we got to go up
Correct.
from that amount by 10%.
Or 2021.
Which is 35, basically 35.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next page shows your millage. You have 7.75 debt mills, which is pledged to your bonded debt, and you have 27.05 M&O mills, which means you're 2.05 over the minimum requirement of 25. And your total millage rate is a 34.8 millage rate. Collections, you're just slightly above state average. I said state average is 95%. You're 96.4%. And you'll notice a couple of years because you dropped, your assessment dropped and your wealth index dropped, you actually got some money, but it was only a couple of years, which we'll take any we get.
We'll take it.
Right. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute.
So I want to make a comment right
Yes, sir,
there,
please do.
because in the spring, we were notified by the state that we were going to have to pay back. And for the board's provision, the rationale is they were pulling, if you go back, they were pulling an assessment value from
From a prior.
a prior year. And so our collections came in exceeding the 98%, but they were comparing that to a prior year assessment approximately 2 years. So, at the conclusion of that, in our discussion with the state, they waived us having to do, write them a check because we were exceeding the 98% threshold on collection, but that was solely based on them utilizing the wrong assessment number, creating the overall value. And I just wanted to communicate that because we're kind of at a place here where we're coming in with a 96.43% collection rate. And I conveyed to the board last spring because the state had conveyed to us that we had exceeded the 98% and we were going to be charged with returning money to the state. And we spent about 3 months kind of discussing that in the spring, if you recall.
On the Schedule 4, that's your 2 bonds. The QSCB was the one that was done back in 2010. And just for anybody that's new on the board, that was one of the Obama error items, and that was that you had an opportunity to borrow money on 0% interest. Now, the way they set it up is you had an interest rate established, which was 5.11, but then the federal government reimbursed you the interest. We went through sequestration of the federal government, so now it's like it's 0.1%. It's very, very low. So that bond will never be touched. We'll let that bond will pay off in 26-27 school year. We won't touch it between now and then because of that situation. Then the one I did for you in May 1 of 20 was to reduce your interest rate below 2%. Right now, we are over 4%. They think that by the end of the year, we could be over 5%, in bond rates. So, far right column, you have 11,615,000 outstanding in principal. Your school year payment, which includes principal and interest, is $922,098. You'll notice that 2 years above the lower amounts, that's due to the refunding of the bonds and getting you that savings in those years, in quite a bit of savings. Now, you'll notice in 27, 28, your payment drops to $743,781. That's because your QSC deal will be paid off. Now, under the 5/1/20 bond, you have in red a 6/1/22 date. That meant if interest rates had stayed down where they were at that historic low and maybe gone lower, we could refund the bonds and get you a lower interest rate. Obviously, that situation is over and don't know if it'll ever happen again. But it also is a time we can always go to the voters, I'm not saying we want to do that, but I'm saying we can, and ask to extend out the 5/1/20 bond, that we have that opportunity after June of 22, which we're there. Short-term debt, you have no short-term debt, which is also called non-bonded debt. And at the bottom of that page, it shows you your debt to assessment ratio. You probably have one of the lowest in the state. You're at 2.72. Average in the state is 15. I have some schools as high as 30%, but in a 2.72, you're extremely low. It doesn't be bad that it's low, and it's not bad that it's high. It's just a number.
Shows an excessive amount of borrowing power.
It shows that you have quite a bit of borrowing
You
power.
could borrow a
Yes.
lot of money
Yes.
if the
Yeah.
voters would approve
Right.
borrowing of those funds.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
That's all.
The next page shows you what your 7.75 debt mills are worth. So this year it's 3,185,931. You'll notice the same number below that thereafter. That's not true. We don't know what next year's going to be. It's just easier than we run it down. That should go up every single year. Then your bond payment this year is $922,098. And after making your bond payment, what is left is called debt surplus. And by law, you may use that to operate your school district, pay teacher salaries. And you're doing that, and most every school is doing that as well.
So, just for clarity for the board, that is, the 3.1 million is what the 7.75 debt mills generates.
Yes, ma'am.
Then we make the bond payment, and then the excess over that gets transferred to maintenance and operations.
And you use
Used in the
that to pay
general
teacher
fund.
salaries and operate the district. Yes,
Gotcha.
ma'am.
Okay.
That's 2.2 million. The next page is, shows you your funding for the school year 22-23, and again, we're always a year behind. This is 3/4 average prior year. So prior year, you had 1,294 kids, which means you were down 21 kids as far as payment. Dr. Murphy, just so we know approximately where we at ADM wise now, K through 12.
I showed a 1301.
So we're up a little bit. Super.
Slightly.
Good, that's good news. Anytime we can hold our own and be up a little bit, that's great. So good news. Your assessment, $426,308,999. Your millage rate, 34.8. Over in the white area to the right, put .100. And right below .100, put .50. And then below .50, put .000. So .100, .50, and .000. And by .100, write the word poor. And poor is Poyen School District. P-O-Y-N is the poorest school district in the state of Arkansas.
Really?
Now, if you've been by and you've been to their gym, you wouldn't think they're
Wouldn't
poor.
think that.
But that's what they are. And I'll explain in a minute. 50, put the word average. And then by 000, put rich. Rich is Ashdown, of all places, because of the Domtar plant, for example. And I look on line 8, you're 000. And that's because has nothing to do with anything. It is strictly a funding formula based on line 1 to line 6. It's how many kids you have to your assessment. And that's all it is. Doesn't make you rich. Even though we call it rich, it's just the phrasing due to the state's
Because
funding
we have
passing.
a lot of people in our district that are retired, so they're contributing tax money, but no kids in the district.
Correct.
Is
Exactly.
that imbalance.
You have 426 million assessment and only 1,300, I'm rounding up, 1,300 kids. And that's what causes it, which is great that you have that mill value, but it is hurtful in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Line 9, every school has to have 25 mills, and at 98%, your 25 mills at 98% are 10,444,570. Miscellaneous funds is federal forestry, federal flood funds, and federal mill, and you virtually get none. So that's
$178.
Now, I want you not to spend that in all one place. So that's 10,444,748. You divide your number of students into that, 1,294 means you're producing $8,067,081.
$8,000.
I'm sorry, $8,067.81. Sorry.
Per pupil.
Per pupil.
Per pupil. So look on line 13, they're saying you should have, to the left, 7,413 per child. So because of that, you produce more than on line 13 where the state money's at, you're zero. And that's the reason for it. ALE, we're showing you with 34 kids, 166,626. English as a second language will not be out there, never out until like November or December. So we used the number you had last year, which is 25. For this year, if you have more kids, you'll have more money. You have less kids, you'll have less money there. Enhanced Student Achievement Funding used to be the NSLA. The legislature decided they didn't like the name and changed it. So it's Enhanced Student Achievement Funding, and you're at the anything under 70% gets $538 per child, and you're there with 46.76. If you're 70% to 89, you get 1,076 per child, and if you're 90% or greater, 1,613. There's about 5 schools that at 90% or greater. Professional development, 48,548. And in the next 3 numbers, just as the state's formula to figure your BDA, but because you're rich, you don't qualify for BDA, so it's 0.
So that'd be bond debt assistance.
Bonded debt assistance on the original bond, not the QSCB, but the original bond. That was established in 2005.
So an example, if you hear of a district that gets roughly 35 or 40% of their facilities funded by the state, they have a wealth index that is leaning more towards the poor ratio versus the average to below, which is rich in that regard. So just wanted to make that point.
Yes, sir. So right now, we've got an estimate, but with the growth you're talking about, this probably won't hold true. And that is, this year you'll be able to go declining or growth. Growth is full value. It's $7,413 per child. Declining is half the value of a child. So we're looking at 77,428 is an estimate for decline. Line 26 is the 35. Is enhanced transportation funding. That was the governor introduced that in 1920, and he had it for 2 years. Is what it was supposed to be here for, and then he extended it for 2 more years. So the problem is he'll be gone after January. So we think this funding will be gone. We don't know, but it was just put in there by him 4 years ago. So I think that, which is to you, it's 28,660 this year. I think that'll be gone. Line 36 is the teacher salary equalization funding. And what that was designed to do is bring everybody up to a certain point that the legislature wanted them at. And they give this money for you to bring up your salaries. So this year, we're estimating you to get $243,369. I think that's on the latest state aid notice as well. So that money is restricted, very
Salaries.
restricted. So that, you You can't use that for anything other than salaries.
And that is where we took our base rate of pay from 39,000 to 41,000.
Right.
This is
But
state
that's
time.
only, is this the last year of it? Was it a
So
two-year
it's
deal?
reoccurring.
Oh, is it reoccurring?
You actually ask a great question.
Okay.
We are not, the legislator has said they're gonna fund this,
Right.
but we're gonna have a new governor.
Right.
The new governor, if it ends up who we think it's gonna be, and everyone, the polls say it is, who knows, but we'll see. She is for vouchers, she's for homeschooling, she is not for public schools. So don't expect to get any help from her at all, at least from what we're hearing. So that's a concern. I hope I'm wrong.
We'll all become political activists.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Just kidding.
Line 37 is your academic facility wealth index, which virtually is nothing. Sometimes you maybe get 0.5% or less. That's 99.5 means that's your part of an academic facility, and you've got to apply to get that other half to get funded and everything. And sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth for the little bit you're going to get, if any. Line 38 is what's your meals above 25. That is your debt meals plus your 2.75 in your excess M&O, which makes a total of 9.8 meals, and that is $4,028,661. And then line 39 is the same as line 11 above. It's what your 25 meals are worth. And look at line 40. That normally, most schools get millions there. That is their big dollar, and that's state foundation funding, and you get 0.
Yep.
Line 41 is the other state funds listed above. So when a board or superintendent says to me, take away my categorical restricted, because they are restricted, they are categorical. Take away the bond payment because I've got to make that or I'm going to go into immediate fiscal distress. What do I have that is unrestricted to pay teacher salaries and operate the district? And that is $13,900,769. We're showing that is an increase of $238,379 over the previous year. But there's a little mix there. Look at line 44. Your bond payment last year was $586,457. Your bond payment, which we knew all along was coming back up, well, it's at $922,097. And then on line 36, that teacher funding, that's new. So
Right.
it's really kind of skewed what you're getting this year. It'll get back more normal next year.
Right.
The next page is a balance sheet. The state of Arkansas calls it sources and uses. So we take your total expenditures versus your total revenue. And if we look at your total expenditures for 2021, and I know you just closed the year, but the state has not certified any of the numbers for last year, so we don't have those yet. So using the year before, 2021, you ended the bottom number, $2,930,758. Taking your expenditure total above that, $13,967,345, and divide that by 12 means you average $1,164,000 per year. This isn't in your books.
Per
I'm just
month?
telling you. Per month, excuse me, $1,164,000 per month.
Okay.
We want at least 2 months on hand. That's 2.3 million, and really prefer 3 months. That's 3.5. Got another law.
Yes.
We have the 20% law now. Tells us we can't have more than 20% in our funds, and that is 2.9 million. So we really want you down about a 2.7. We want you way below that.
Right.
Because if you're at $1 over the 20% number, they can take $1 of state foundation funding, but you're not getting. I don't know what they're
But
going to do.
we
y'all.
don't, yeah.
We don't want to take a chance.
We just don't want to cross that. We'd rather stay comfortably below that 20%.
So we're in great shape. Yeah, the board and administration's done a super job here. We had a really low balance, if you all remember, a few years ago, and y'all have steadily brought it up and have done a great job. And in the building fund, we have unrestricted. Now, there's some other money that's restricted, but in the building fund, we have $1.3 million. So with the building fund amount and the amount you all got ending balance, I'm real pleased with where we're at.
Yeah.
Any questions anyone has on this page? So going back to the assessed valuation page. And then we'll set that to the side, keep it open there, and then pull out this next one. And this is your second lien option. Dr. Murphy wanted me to give you a second lien option for possible projects. And so if we did a $3,095,000 second lien bond, we'll generate you $3 million net for projects. Your payment is $285,000. Okay, that comes out operating. But back to the assessment page. With the increase, you're looking at somewhere between 270 and 350 range per year more money from the debt mills, just the debt mills. So you've got enough money coming in from the debt mills to pay for this without really dipping into your funds. So it's an opportunity for you that not a lot of people get. So questions and
that would be reflective of in our work session from the spring prior to the modulars. It was an estimate of roughly 2.5 million to put a 6-room addition behind Safe Room B.
Right.
And so what this does is it shows you an option to fund that type of proposal if we find that the modulars that we're putting on the campus out of cash balances are not sufficient to manage our own, where we're at with space needs. So I wanted you to at least have the awareness of kind of where our new money will be coming in. And here again, that would be regardless of a potential rollback because we would inherit a 10% revenue increase with the assessment that we're looking at here.
What was that range you just said, Ray? 250?
the range would be in the 270 to 350 range, and what I'm
7.75 million.
on the 7.75. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a little less increase and then an assessment of going to the 10%, and that gets us to the 330.
On second liens, those don't have to be approved by voters, correct?
Second liens have to be approved by the board, and then they have to be approved by the state board. But normally that's just contingent on that.
And are they limited in how often you can do them or how much they can be worth?
No, as long as you make the payment. There is 1 year, several years ago, Pulaski County did $100 million second lien. We didn't do it, but they did do that. So yes, you can do whatever
Gotcha.
you can afford.
What you can afford,
And that's our
obviously.
concern always, is what's in your best interest financially. and
Absolutely.
Because you're
Yeah.
incurring long-term reoccurring payments that could be used. You're just creating a new reoccurring component that typically in our world of thinking, a reoccurring expense is associated with teacher hires or salary increases
Right.
on a personnel perspective. So incurred debt with reoccurring time frame, 15 or 30 years.
It's the, and this is based on the length of the bond. We can't go out any further than the current bonds
That
out,
was my next
which is
question.
2037.
Okay, so we could go to 2037.
Okay.
And in 4 years from now, we're gonna roll off $200,000
Right.
in bond payment
Correct.
to QSAP.
After this year, we have 4 more years
4 more years.
of that QSCAP bond.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
And then our payment goes down by
200,000.
230,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so if you do a second lien, it can only be done for the length of time that your current bond
Right.
is active. Okay.
And that's what makes the payment a little bit higher, because the length of our current bond.
Right, even if, for example, you were to send it
Right.
out, and we could do a 28-year, for example, second lien, we could, it'd even be less.
Right, sure, that's, but because of the term.
Right.
Then my final question, comparatively to going for the voters, do you find the interest rate of a second lien and a traditional bond to be somewhat equivalent, and what's that market look like?
He has used a 4.07.
Okay.
If we don't get it out,
Be closer to 5.
it could easily.
But that's a traditional bond as well.
Right. And this is,
Right.
they highly sought after investments because of the states backing the bond as well as the district is.
I think it's something we'd have to really
Yeah, we'd have to have some.
look at very hard, because it's gonna cost us 1.14 million just to borrow 3 million. So,
Yeah, depends on, if we had a project list and we knew, hey, we wanna, yeah, just like, yep,
Things you have to think about, for sure.
yes,
You bet.
absolutely.
Many schools do second liens because they don't, it's not, you're not asking for new mills, and it's not, you don't have to go to the voters, so.
Right.
Many schools do it, but that's up to y'all, of course.
Yes, I can see that being a useful tool, especially in our circumstance where we've tried a couple of millage increases and not been successful with them, so I could see a second lien if we had some real specific projects we were
Right.
aiming for. That
Oh,
would be
and by the
useful.
way, I'm not encouraging you to do it non-academic, but when it comes to second liens or any bond, it does not have to be academic. It can be sports, it can be academic, I don't care what it is. It's,
Just-
as long as it's for the school.
Right.
Paving, lighting.
Yes.
Any
Anything.
safety, security, fencing, any enhancements that we have. And I get your point in the context, he mentioned 1.3 million, but later on this evening, of that building fund of 1.3 million, we're preparing to spend roughly 750,000 of that building fund in this current year with the approved budget. So we will have a reduced building fund with a fund balance of roughly 2.7 million, but the overall cash on hand will diminish greatly with a couple of projects that we're looking to complete in the current year. Our cash position will look roughly different this time next year. That's why I just feel like that we need to at least know what vehicles we have available to us for consideration of projects. As I told you in the spring, our number one thing that we're going to continue to monitor is district enrollment. And quite frankly, the cafeteria exterior addition has been very well received by the kids. A lot of our the junior high they're using it as a reward system, but we have a lot of senior high kids eating out there every day. So it's kind of helped us with some of the cafeteria overcrowding. And hopefully when the modulars come in, that will get all of our high school classes back on the high school campus and allow for an expansion of some programming for elementary learning and give us some classrooms back at the elementary level as well when the modulars arrive. But we're really looking,
It'll be summer.
I think we're going to do without them all year with the delays that we're having on building plans.
And I got an hour's credit for each of the board members.
Well, I appreciate you giving them a green sheet,
You
right?
betcha.
For you,
That's all right.
Catch up with that.
Cindy.
You're never gonna catch them.
And for putting up with me on the board training, I have a khaki and I have a camouflage hat. Which would you prefer?
Just leave them all.
I got plenty of both.
I'll take the khaki.
Khaki.
I'll take camel.
Camo? You
I want to
bet.
hide.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Sure.
Y'all want to see me wear a hat?
You know, I bet you look good in that.
No, absolutely
You look
not.
like a camel kind of guy.
It ain't right.
Okay.
Ray, appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for having me. I sure appreciate being here.
We appreciate
the
it.
information.
Are anybody in your family?
Yeah, let me have a khaki one.
Okay.
We'll represent you, but I might make my husband wear it.
That's all right. Either way, thank you for your time.
Thank you
Did you
so
have any
much.
other questions for me, Dr. Murphy?
I do not. Any board members have any questions as Amy's thought of?
But we'll be talking to you as soon as those numbers come out.
Come back anytime you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you so
I
much.
would tell you that we'll be following up closely with Ray when we get closer to the reappraisal values, what's being determined as the estimated real values of property, ensuring that personal property is not commingled, because I have read some elements of Amendment 79 that kind of makes it a little bit gray in the context, is personal property included or excluded? Is glad to hear you say somebody in the business that does it says it is excluded, and they'll be looking at real estate only.
Yes, sir. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, I appreciate you. Okay, that was good information. Let's continue on down our agenda here, and the next item is the building walkthrough.
So we've had one building walkthrough. I just wanted to, we need to get into the elementary school next and can hit another building. I would kind of ask the board, charge the board with this at this point, if there is a specific question regarding programming that you would like to see. Let's go ahead and begin to get some emailed questions in. We can kind of design that walkthrough around, part of it could be a visual and part of it could be sitting in front of a principal and a specific content area or area of interest that the board may have. Really, I put it on here tonight so that we could try to pin down a date.
Yes.
Cindy not being present, probably would it be best, Dana,
Let's put a tentative date on
Okay.
the calendar, and then we'll just, everybody can double check their schedule. So, board members, do y'all know of anything that you have that's taking you out of commission in October?
First week, no weekend.
Okay, so not the first week. I'm wondering if, let's see.
we have that regional meeting
On the
on the
11th.
11th. We have a board meeting on the 10th. The
Do we wanna-
13th is
Do y'all-
fairly open. That'd be a busy week for you.
Do we want to try to pair it with the board meeting on the 10th and come early?
Good.
I'm done with that.
Would that work for y'all? Be here, you know, let's say,
We kicked around trying to view the lunch program and some of the things going on there. You want to do like a afternoon where you get to see dismissal? You know, we could do something like that if you wanted to. But do you want to tentatively plan for the 10th?
yes, let's plan for the 10th,
Okay.
since it coincides with the meeting, and we'll kind of talk amongst ourselves to
About
see
time.
what we want to
Which
look
one
at
to
or
do.
which area we want to go to, and then that'll kind of dictate the time that
And
we
if-
start.
If you want to tie that closer to the meeting, I might be able to coordinate some of those conversations near the end of the day up to as much as 4 o'clock, depending on
Mhm.
who we might involve.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, all right.
So let's just
Say the board.
tentatively say October 10th.
Got it.
Sometime that day, and then I'll get with everybody on that. All right, next item is the SBHC grant.
Get back in here, pull that up if you don't mind. In the context of, just trying to think of, help me out a little bit on this one, Mr. Campbell.
This is your school-based health center grant,
Year 2.
year 2
Right,
report.
Okay.
So it's your budgeted.
Yeah, because we didn't put that in last year, so I wanted to at least let you guys kind of see after we had completed a year, going into the second year related to the center itself. So somewhat self-explanatory. It is a roughly $50,000 grant program funded through 5 years.
Okay.
And time gets away from us, but I think we're
Is this the beginning of year
2,
3?
so we're beginning of year 3.
This
beginning
just
of
started year 3.
It's our third year.
Which is crazy
I know.
that we're starting year 3 with, but it's really taking off, so
Yep.
Uh,
Great participation.
I'm really happy to see that. And it's essentially, is this saying it's essentially paying for itself? A little bit of leftover? $3,000? Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, it is.
Self, I mean, with that grant money.
With the
it's-
grant funding.
Right,
yes.
it's funding, it's
Now, the
not.
thing that we're looking for in year 3 is to somewhat have Kim working with Morgan to see if there is an element of additional mental health services that maybe we're currently not applying for that might benefit us with some new revenue. And so we've sent Kim through the training, and so she'll work in conjunction with our mental health staff to see if there's eligible individuals that currently we're not filing on to maybe receive revenue in that regard. That's kind of our intention here into year 3. We did not do that in year 1 and 2 because we're trying to get the program off the ground
Right.
and build a client base, and so we're going to. The other element of this, if you strengthen the partnership and the client base, then upon the conclusion of the grant, you can negotiate with HealthStar, because right now, HealthStar, there is $0 on their behalf going into the program involved.
Right.
So they're getting a chance to see their revenue generated, and if that becomes a high enough level, they may have an interest in a future partnership with the district beyond the grant cycle.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the PPC meeting.
Basically just followed up with them. As you can see there on the 24th, kind of some discussion centered around the bonus, what we ended up doing for staff there. Did talk a little bit about safety and security, traffic flow patterns, building egress along with food service. We've made some modifications to the food service program concerning breakfast in the classroom since that point in time, listening to administrators as well. Still doing breakfast in the classroom to elementary, but we're doing grab and go with middle school age students this time instead of sending food to the classroom. Distributed as you're wearing district shirts. Utilize some of our 7,000 activity funds to facilitate that, and that was actually paid for through our reimbursement program that we use with our P-card system. So what we earn back is how we ended up purchasing shirts for everyone there. And had some discussion around how that PPC might benefit us in surveying staff. And kind of talked a little bit about confidentiality. They had to vote associated with the vote to have the incentive attendance. And so we had a conversation centered around that. That there was a couple of things that Mr. Schrader and a couple others mentioned. Back in the day, you had to keep a posted, you put the minutes in the lounge, et cetera. We put out minutes, agendas, everything electronically via email, and they alluded to the fact that we need to maybe take that policy out in the future because
Transition it to digital.
to just make it because one, we're not doing that consistently because we send every employee a copy of all the content that we have via email communication. So they thought that policy was outdated and recommended that we remove it.
Good. All right.
Other than that, the next item I have for you, Ray was kind of talking about the conditions of the market and the inflationary measures we're all experiencing. This kind of coincides a funding model. This was tied to a CPI index that potentially how education could be funded over the next 3 to 5 years. And so I bring this to your attention, not to debate, but I felt like the CPI, the cost of consumer price index and the overall cost of living, cost of doing business, in my opinion, is slightly higher. We have seen, in some instances, much higher than what those reflective numbers are. But these numbers are being used with the adequacy study to formulate a plan to move education forward with revenue for future fiscal years. And I want to share that with you.
That Those are pretty
And
low.
we use those numbers, we'll fall behind.
Yes, right now,
I'm just
for
bringing
sure.
to you the information
Yeah.
that they're making decisions with.
They're kind of using old information there.
Yeah,
Maybe they're just being hopeful.
I think
It's
so.
gonna come down to that point.
At this point, let's see.
Hayden?
Yeah, I think that's the last item I had. Item G, turn it over to Hayden, Support Services.
All right, so item A there on the hospital fire alarm system. Back in July, we had a pretty significant lightning damage that hit our campus. Some of it has been filed on our insurance, and we're getting roughly about 14,000 back. That'll be sometime late October before that does come back to us. Not a whole lot of money, considering how much a new fire alarm system costs.
Right.
So this system is our same simplex system that was put in back in 1998. And we've been limping along. It's an analog system, so it's definitely time for a makeover. So right now, our fire alarm system is not working in the hospital buildings at all.
Okay.
So that's hospital main, top floor, bottom floor, media center, annex, auditorium, and agri.
Okay.
And that includes building 14 as well, which is our little modular building. So I've had 3 companies out here to come out and diagnose the issue, all 3 tips, taps, vendors. So we wouldn't have to do a traditional bid. And all 3, the same vendors, pretty much said the same exact thing, lightning damage. And it's just, they back here tracing wires, trying to figure out, what got hit, what did not get hit. So at this point, could we fix what's there? We could, for about $25,000. And it's just, repairing an old 1998 system. To do this and do it right, we have a lot of new codes. They got announced back in 2016. So when you're doing a new fire alarm system, we have voice evac. That's required nowadays. You're required for strobes in every classroom. You're required for smoke detectors in every classroom. And right now, we do not have that based off that 1998 system. So we're looking at that $150,000 ballpark as the lowest price so far. We just left this as a discussion item tonight. We hope to bring it to you next month. Hopefully at maybe a little bit lower price, but we do know as inflation and everything else here, that price is going to go up. So we're still trying to evaluate the best thing. We have a pretty solid idea of what company we would like to recommend and what system we'll be going with. One thing I would mention is this is a fiber optic network-based system where if we ever expand this, which we will, the next 3 to 4 years, if we bring over elementary, middle school, the system runs off our network.
Okay.
So we can integrate buildings moving forward to the system.
This is probably a dumb question. Doing something like that, would it substantially impact your bandwidth as you're trying to?
No, so this is completely sent off the internet, so this is local fiber optic only. So we're just
Okay.
using our backhaul just to support this. I mean, we could honestly run, 4 or 5 lakeside school districts off our back end.
Okay.
So we're fine.
Okay. My other question was, in the meantime, while we know the system is not working, have y'all talked about a plan? What is the plan without the existing fire alarm? Do you have a call pattern? What have you done to?
We haven't really had a call pattern in place. We do have our intercom system, so that'd be our first line of defense. Just
Okay.
because we implemented a new intercom system about 2018, so that's building wide. So we'll be able to announce a fire through that. It has been reported to the state of Arkansas. Anytime your fire alarm system does not work, we have our yearly inspections 3 times a year. Some from the local fire marshals, state fire marshals, and the state department themselves. So 3 different entities inspect our fire alarms every year. So they are aware that our system is down, and they kind of have, by default, a 6-month plan is in place. So I'll provide that I spoke to the school board tonight, kind of at least let them know we're on track for a replacement system.
Okay.
And so I'll let them know that tomorrow, but it has been reported that our fire alarm system is down in the hospital.
So if there were a fire, you could do a call into each classroom?
We could.
You could
or
announce it
on
into
call.
each classroom and each
Right.
building?
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't know, Mr. J, have y'all done a fire drill in the hospital yet this year?
We have.
And it's just done through the intercom as of right now.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
How long has it been down?
I'd say towards the end of July.
Okay.
And it's being analog, it's It's
It's a
a
dinosaur.
booger to trace. I mean, you're talking about old analog lines that
So,
run
in the
without
context
conduit.
of the timeline, the thing that I would tell you is, we kind of challenged ourselves, can we repair the existing? When we looked at the inability to identify where some of the existing issues were at, coupled with every time an analog system like that, it's all hung on the wall, and a technician comes out of Little Rock, and it's a minimum of about $1,000 to get them out here. Because this is down, I asked him to find a solution that we could manage on our own, and then go through the problem. The reason the number goes up so much is we could reside under and be grandfathered in as long as we don't change that system.
Yes.
As soon as that system's changed out, we're gonna go with current code.
Right.
Current code are going to probably help us in the element of detection, but it's also going to accelerate the cost. And the reason it's a discussion tonight is with $150,000 on the table, I didn't want to bring you a bid tonight, which I could have. I felt like we needed to discuss it, and you may decide that you want us to try to piecemeal the analog system and get by for less than $25,000, or you may want to invest in a system that allows us to expand campus-wide. But if we go that direction, we'll have a bid before you coming up here in October.
Yeah, I
Let's
think
say get serious on that.
because that's a big safety.
Yeah, there's one thing I've learned here recently is you can't put a price on something.
Right.
Right.
I just didn't really feel comfortable this evening, just, but you didn't have any prior knowledge of it. And we do have another board meeting, because this board meeting was a week later.
Yes.
We've got another board meeting
In 3
coming at us
weeks,
in a few
yeah.
weeks, so we'll have you a solid bid back in front of the board and have it approved. at that
How
time.
long would they say it would take to do all this?
Right now, if we approve it tonight, you're looking at least 3 months before the equipment would even arrive.
So that's gonna be bumping that 6-month window.
Right, which would be fine, as long as we have the
As long as
equipment
we
on
have-
order.
As long as you have a-
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So there won't be any penalties or anything from the state
Not at all.
agencies or, okay.
And what about to install it? How long are we talking it's gonna take them?
I had it on that quote. It's gonna take them, I'd say at least 1 month to have everything installed.
Okay,
At
So
least.
as soon as we
Minimum.
do it, 4 months could be.
basically
good to
4
go.
months
Right.
till it's active.
February or something?
Okay, yeah, bring us a quote.
Okay. All right, moving on down, I have Josh Woodall here tonight. Josh is officially appointed to Fountain Lake School District as of about 3 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
So he is our unit manager, district manager for SSC, and he's going to be doing a quarterly business review for everyone here tonight.
And we welcomed you to Fountain Lake with a brush pile. All right?
It's always exciting.
I mean, you thought, what have I got myself into?
First of all, I'd like to say good to meet you guys. This is actually my first quarterly business review, so kind of bear with me a little bit.
Should've never said it. You should've never told me that.
The purpose of the quarterly business review is to bring users and providers of facility services together for a formal review to evaluate progress and identify future opportunities for improvement. Just kind of keep you guys in the loop on everything we're doing. So mine is a little bit short because I just got brought on out here just 3 months ago. So on the agenda today, we'll have our people, the custodial update, and our performance. These numbers have gone up a little since then because we are currently bringing on more staff every day, pretty much.
Good.
We have 13 employees. Well, actually, we have 18 employees now.
Good.
So on day shift, we started with 3 people. We brought on another one just to help everything kind of smooth over a little more. We have Ashley, Jane, Maria, and Sheila. Sheila was from the previous contract. She's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
So. On our night shift, we have Jeff Russell. He's my supervisor. Carrie Burks, Quentin Hansell, Trayvon Goley, Jonathan Neighbors, Timothy Sally, Tatiana Barron, Jasmine Jackson, and Craig Schulten. Now there's about 5 more new guys that we need to add to that.
On the night shift?
Yes, ma'am. Our management organization, of course, we have Seth as our CEO. Tim Tyler is our regional vice president. Andrew Thacker, he's our regional director of operations, and John Dufresne, he kind of oversees everything in Garland County. And me, of course. All right, so basically everybody that's on staff now is brand new to Fountain Lake School District except for Sheila and Quentin. So they were the only two that actually had a little bit of experience here.
So everybody's learning together.
Yes, ma'am. Everybody except for them pretty much has experience, but very little. So
Okay.
we're learning as we go. Over the breaks and holidays, we'll continue to deep clean and resurface floors in some areas we weren't able to do during the summer break,
Okay.
like the media center upstairs and downstairs, the annex classrooms, the Bassett gym, coaches' offices, and the agri classroom. Some of the new stuff that we're using, we have new clean core solution stations that ionize the water and get an effective sanitizer and cleaner out of just one machine. So that's gonna knock down our costs for cleaning chemicals tremendously, because we can use this water for sanitizer for up to 3 hours. We can use it for a cleaner for 3 days. It's pretty big. And it is actually safe to drink, so if a kid does happen to get some, then there's absolutely no worries on that. We have electrostatic sprayers that we use for disinfectant purposes. And we have a bunch of new scrubbers. I'm sure some of you might have seen them around. They're nothing like the old dinosaurs. Although we had a late start and suffered from some staffing issues, I believe we had a great summer. We were able to complete most of the campus, only leaving behind a few projects that we will hit during these next few breaks. As we transition to the school year, we have had a few hiccups, having a brand new crew and everything. But everyone worked super hard and had adapted to being some of the hardest working employees I've actually had the pleasure of being with. So
That's good. That's very good news.
thank you guys for having me here and allowing me to demonstrate that.
And are you on campus every day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. During the day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And his office is right next to mine, so we'll interact daily.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the same room there.
Very
Close
good.
together.
I'm glad your staffing is improving.
Yes, it
Because I know
is.
that was a big issue.
Yes, as always.
Yeah.
But we just
Right
gotta
now.
keep them now.
Yeah. Thank you, Josh,
Yes,
very
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just so I can kind of echo what I'm observing with Josh as well as Hayden, we did a campus walkthrough Thursday or Friday, and so we saw a noticeable difference, and we did that unannounced at 7 a.m. and probably 95% of the locations that we went to, the cleaning was at a level that was expected among his staff, and so I was very pleased with what we observed that day. So just wanted to bring that to your attention as well.
Have the teachers said anything?
We've been with quite a few comments from
Nice.
teachers in a positive manner. I mean, as Josh can attest to, the quickest way to get a teacher's attention is not get their trash out of the room.
Right.
Secondarily, is not sweep the floor.
Yes.
But we did have real conversations around individual preference among teachers, because some put chairs on a desk where others may leave them down, and so that, one inhibits the ability to wipe down the desk itself, but this spray that he's discussing gives us the ability to disinfect every desk, because we come in and spray the space as a part of a solution approach to disinfecting. So we do that, and then the other thing he didn't mention that I would give accolades to is their attention, cleanliness in the restrooms, and the level of disinfecting in the restrooms. Much improved.
Good. Awesome. We'll look forward to another quarterly update from you, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hayden?
All right, so moving on to School Pass. This is our new visitor management system. We just rolled this out probably about 3 weeks ago as well. And I think so far, everyone loves it. This is a self-serve system. You know, our secretaries have a lot going on day in, day out. So if you're a visitor, guest, contractor, we are making everyone, if you're a plumber or painter, whoever's on campus, everyone has to go through this system. So
In every building?
well, not like teachers daily, but yeah, if you're, like, say if you're a contractor coming to, run a new light circuit in the middle school, they'll come down to the middle school, check in, print their badge, stick it on, and they go into the building. So teachers know, teachers,
Right,
students.
right. But, and the offices are printing those passes or those
Correct.
badges?
So
Okay.
it's a self-service system, so if I'm a visitor, if I'm a parent here on campus, or if I'm a community member, whatever the situation may be, you come on campus, you find the iPad at your building office, you pull out your wallet, scan your driver's license, it will automatically do a background check and sex offender check. Our previous systems only updated that database once every 2 months, so now we're updating this every night. So we should be pretty solid on any visitor management across campus. This does give you a very nice portal where all of our admin staff can see what visitors are on campus at any given point in time. If it is a sex offender or someone that does not pass the background check, all of our admin staff and Chief Riley are immediately notified. And I just want to let you know that we have made the switch.
But the students aren't using the student part of that.
Students are not at this time.
I was looking down at what this system
what I was-
offers.
Right.
I was like, interesting.
That's something some of the principals have hit me up on. We're actually looking at School Pass this Wednesday to look at a bus rider management program just to help out. How does a transportation change come into the district? How does it get to the office, to the teacher, to the bus driver? So we are demoing that with myself and the guys. I think Ms. Curry will be joining us as well.
Okay.
That's a separate program from this, but the same company.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, that looks interesting.
So today we had our first security committee meeting. It was a total of 8 of us. We were 2 short. We are looking to expand this committee. I do want to offer an invite tonight for anyone that does want to join our team from a board level. We'd like to have at least one of you in this committee. You don't have to attend every single work session that we do have, but we'd like for at least one board member to be on our team. We'd like to add a community member, maybe a few parents. We do want to loop in our school nurses on this committee. And I'm not going to go through this whole slideshow. I'll let you all revisit that on your own time. But our first session did happen today. We had around 11 o'clock, lasted for almost 3 hours. I think it was pretty successful. It was more of just a highlight of what we're currently doing. And Chief Riley will be overseeing this moving forward, kind of leading the direction for this program and committee.
Sign me up.
All right, we'll get you on the list.
Good,
If
thank
you don't
you.
care, Madam President,
Oh, I'm all for it. You do it, Corey. I would appreciate that.
I need something else to do.
Yeah.
So the last thing I have is our security checklist. Dr. Murphy and I think some other neighboring superintendents found this over the summer, and it's something that we are implementing this school year. So Chief Riley will be doing monthly checklists throughout each campus. This checklist, you can see items 1 through 10. He may do multiple checks throughout the weeks, throughout that month, so it's not just a one-time check. He will gather all this data. It will be reviewed with the building principal or building assistant principal. The data collected will go back to Dr. Murphy, Mr. Campbell, and myself, depending on the areas that are on there. If it's classroom related, teacher related, obviously go to Mr. Campbell. Anything janitorial related that I can help in on my areas, I'll assist where needed. And so that is something new that we are doing this school year. And Dr. Murphy, you have anything else to add to that checklist?
No, the main thing is just trying to provide feedback back to each building and keep the sense of a focus that we build a culture of safety on a continuum, and it's not something that we do in a moment of time, but I think we get stronger and more mindful of that if it's repetitive, and so that's the intention behind this.
Good.
I was looking over this, and just a couple things came to mind, just because I was in a class ever last week. But fire extinguishers and stuff like that, are they all readily available? Does the staff know? Do y'all do any kind of training for the staff?
Yeah, we don't do staff training. Chief Riley is trained on us. He does do our monthly inspections. So he's assigned to do that kind of do twofold, where he at least is in the buildings, walking through the security mindset, also checking off on fire extinguishers. Teacher-wise, no, they are not trained. All our fire extinguishers are in every hallway on campus. We do have them labeled on our facility map. Teachers do have access to that, but to answer your question directly, no, teachers aren't trained on it, but cafeteria staff, all of our janitorial staff, they go through extra training through Chief Riley on how to properly use them.
I'd say that'd be something
Something they
to
might.
do once a year, just if we bring them all in the auditorium.
Wouldn't take 15 minutes to
Right.
Just so.
at least remind people how to use a fire extinguisher.
Sure.
Because it's not intuitive.
Right.
Now, you'd be surprised that, like, if something was to happen to you today,
You know, in your panic
Panic,
brain,
right.
you know, you need to, so it might be worth
we're
sticking
about
that up there.
AEDs. How many AEDs do we have on campus?
We have one in each building.
Yeah, we have one in each
gymnasium.
building. I'd say we're probably at 12 to 13 across campus. And
So every building's got one.
one exercise we did just finish is moving all of our AEDs, doing this in the first week of school, to centralized locations. We had a lot of AEDs behind closed doors. Example, there's one in the hospital office kind of way back, you turn all around. So we're just thinking, you know, if you're a staff member in another building, if you're not familiar with the hospital, if you're a student,
Right.
so all AEDs have in place where you can see them now.
Good.
Yeah, I think the hospital's the last one we have to move. Do you know if it's been moved?
I think so, yes.
I think it has. We should move it now.
Good. Good
Do we have a
questions.
portable AED backpack?
I think we have two. There should be one at each nurse station.
And, okay, do we send them to away games or?
That we do.
I don't know on that one. I know our
I'm just
Levi
curious.
contact did, but I don't know what Hellstar.
Or do we bring it up to the football game when we
Well,
have?
maybe
outdoor?
the
I think
Levi
our
may have
first
our
responder,
trainer. Do you have one?
whoever,
Okay.
I don't know that answer. I can
used to
find
be
out and
Levi,
see.
but now it's somebody else, but they
It's
probably,
Health Star.
It's Hellstar now. I would assume so. That's something I can find out on.
they
Okay,
have
I'm just
one.
curious
Yeah.
because some kid out there.
Yeah.
There is one in the field house.
Okay, is that it, Hayden?
I believe so.
Thank you for those updates, and we will move on to Mr. Campbell.
All right. And I'm going to defer the vast majority of my time to the building principals. We put together monthly reports
Yes.
for each building. You receive those, and they just are going to hit over those. Ms. Curry?
Did we lose
Did
Miss
she go
Curry?
home?
No.
There she is.
I know she's here. There she is.
Yes.
And
Oh,
we wanted
look at
to
all these
share
hiding in the
some of the things that we talked about as a group, the attendance for staff and students, and then just some discipline information. So we have it kind of all in the same format for you to see for each building. So Ms. Curry?
Okay, well, I will start. I know we have quite a few items on our agenda, so I'll try to be pretty quick so the other two can go right behind me. We set our 4 building goals with our instructional leadership team, myself, Ms. Freeman, Ms. Fournier, and Ms. Davis. So we looked at last year's data. We want to try to grow our kids in small increments in order to meet them even greater beyond that, but we're going to start small. Of course, our huge focus is literacy. We're also going to be looking at some new teaching items coming up pretty soon, here a little bit before Christmas. So we have a lot to focus on in literacy and math. Social, emotional, of course, is at the top of our list as well. We're doing a lot with our staff and students every day with that. We're doing a pilot program with Dawson on that, and so our teachers are real committed to that, and that's going really well. Our attendance rate's been pretty good. We're running pretty close to 94%. Staff attendance rate, 97% present for the month of August. We had 8 major discipline referrals in August, a little bit less on minors. Less referrals, only 2. We do have about 50, close to 50 kids receiving mental health services, and that does kind of climb every week. Our instructional focuses for August, of course, the Little People's Building is setting those procedures, getting our students, introduced to rules and expectations again. We had a whole school pep rally talking about our school-wide behavior matrix. Was a really good thing for our kiddos. And then we're being very intentional about looking at last year's data to appropriately place our students in their WIN groups, which each grade level has that every day built into their schedule. It's called What I Need, whether it's enrichment or intervention for every student.
Okay.
Ms. Mushrush has our special education updates on there. I won't read all of those, but I will say that Our building is diving into inclusion with our special ed teachers and our gen ed teachers, and that is going really well. So they are in our regular ed classrooms a lot, and so those teachers are working together, and I would say it's been a very proactive process, and it's going really well. So I'm very proud of all of our teachers for jumping in and just being on the same page and on the same team for our kids. Coming up, we have lots of Pee Wee football going on. We got some really good 3rd and 4th grade Pee Wee football teams and cheerleaders. And then, of course, Ms. Smith, Bethany from Dawson, she is the coordinator of the pilot program for the social and emotional learning program. And then she meets with our staff twice a month. She's here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for them. So.
Okay. Can I ask one question?
Sure.
I didn't want to interrupt the flow there, but
Sure.
back on your discipline referrals, just for my information, and maybe the board doesn't know either, what do you consider a major referral versus a minor?
Okay, so majors are anything that comes to the office that an administrator has to handle. Usually if it's a major, it could be several minors, for example, that may have built up and a teacher's 2 or 3 times continually asked a student, had to redirect on the same issue, and now it's time for one of us to step in.
Okay.
Or it could automatically be something, let's say you get
Fighting
punch
or-
somebody.
Right.
We don't have that, but if it's kind of excessive and it would get to that level, that would be like an automatic major.
Okay, so if it has to come, basically if a
Anything
child
to
is
the
sent to
office.
the principal's office,
Yeah, anything that would be greater than the teacher just handling in our
Okay.
classroom. Our
Okay.
teachers do a really good job about handling the majority of it within the classroom.
Okay.
Talking to our kids, giving those appropriate consequences, and then by the time it gets to us, there would have been several things tried before.
okay. I like the format of the report, and I like that it's a quick glance of information, so that's good.
And then also, with the elementary, you all asked what the lead teachers have done. And
Yes.
so you have your lead teacher reports, and these are for 21, 22, and so they look a little different because this is each lead teacher kind of put theirs together.
Yes, yes.
You had the opportunity to look over those reports. Ms. Curry, any comment you want to make about Ms. Fournier and her report?
I love her report.
Love it.
Love,
She's-
love, love
She's
it.
just phenomenal. She's, the 3rd right-hand man that gets to work with our teams on a lot of things sometimes that we're not able to do. She's, intentionally working with a lot of our teachers, growing them in ways that they might see they need to. They reach out to her, they see her to support, and then she's of course there to support, Jennifer and I as well, but she just does a phenomenal job, so.
It looks like it. This is a
Yes.
great report.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. Is there any more for elementary?
I
Nope.
won't read all those because you guys can go back and read
Yeah,
those.
Yes.
those are linked
Those are good.
reports.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's good to have it linked in there.
yes.
And that feedback was actually from a survey we gave at the end of the year last year.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I appreciated the fact that there was constructive feedback in there. It wasn't just all, how sometimes you can just say, oh, we're wonderful, we're great, everything's wonderful. I appreciated the fact that she included, oh, well, here's something we can do better. So I like the mix of feedback in there.
Yeah, if it's all just picture perfect.
Yeah. Probably missing something.
So Ms. Inman has the middle school report, and also these are reports for September, but they're based on August numbers, so we thought we would bring to you the prior month's
Yes.
numbers
Yes.
each month.
Yes, yes.
So
we
it's a
wanna
little
see.
shorter month since we started
Since you
school on the
started,
15th.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So,
Mhm.
Ms.
Okay.
Inman.
Okay, so our building goals are really centered around the RTI process for intervention in both math and reading. And so that's what you'll see first. And it is no secret that we're really working to try to build a different culture and climate through a reset with our growth mindset work that we did at the beginning, which I shared some of that with you guys last month.
Mhm.
And then our character development lessons with Leader and Me. One of our natural byproducts of that is to hopefully see a reduction in some of our discipline infractions that we have. So it's a bold goal, but we're looking for a 25% decrease. But we are already seeing that kind of stagger down as the year has kind of stabilized. But we have been really lucky, I say, knock on wood, with really good staff and student attendance, both at the beginning of the year coming in right at 95%. And so that was a concern, I think, as we first started off, because with our attendance, we do currently have several of our teachers that are on long-term leave to grow their families, and so our attendance is still working out great, even though we have some maternity leave going on, so that's good.
Okay.
Discipline referrals, we are at 36 clear across the board. I did not, that's every single thing that has come to the office.
Okay, now I'm gonna interrupt right here, because something Mr. Campbell said was this is for August. But
Yes.
is this through,
This is August.
like, just for the
15
cup?
days.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, just making sure I understand
Yeah,
that.
so I would just, yeah, so part of that is really some teachers just getting in the groove of what really needs to come to the office and what we can
Okay.
handle in our own classroom. So a lot of things that Steve and I would consider to be just a redirection or a conversation, in the past, they would write that up just for documentation purposes. So you'll kind of see that stabilize. And we were asked for the vape and the fighting. We did not have anything classified as a fight, but we classify a one-person fight, like if I just hit you but you don't hit me back, that is physical attack, so that's what we have listed there. And then we did have one vape that was confiscated.
Okay.
So bus, we have 3, there's 1 major and 2 minor. So, we do have 70 students total, so 15.84% receiving mental health services. And that will probably stay pretty stable throughout the year. Just kind of going into our instructional focus is the same as our goals. We, one thing that we're really proud of is that we're starting off brand new with an RTI process that has not been in place. So we changed out that Cobra hour to basically mirror what they do at the elementary with WIN. So if you need intervention, you're placed in intervention. If you need enrichment, you get to do that. So within the first 15 days of school, we placed 91 students in Tier 2 intervention, spread across with 10 interventionists. That happens 4 different times a week. So each student identified for intervention is going to receive 4 50-minute sessions with a certified teacher. So what's kind of powerful about that is those are students that are not otherwise receiving services. So that's 91 kids that are not in special ed, are not in dyslexia, or not in anything else otherwise, but have been identified through our new data system to be at risk. So we're really excited to see how that works.
And you have about you have 400 kids in the building?
450.
450, okay.
Mm-hmm. So we are monitoring that really closely. The teachers meet every 2 weeks to bring data to the table to see what kind of improvements we're seeing or not, and kind of discuss who needs to stay there or who needs to be included and vice versa. So it keeps everybody really involved in the data.
Good.
For special ed, we listed out all of our special education employees and what they're doing. So we did pick up an extra paraprofessional over the last month, which has been really helpful for a lot of our co-taught students. Just like the elementary, we have some Pee-wee going on, and of course, we are doing once a month PBIS rewards incentives. So any students that have not had a major referral get to do something extra that month. So last month we had an extra recess. This month, we have another activity going on, so we have something scheduled for each month so the kids have something to look forward to. Dr. Murphy even got to join in on our extra recess last month, so it's been good. The kids are really enjoying it. We have great job tickets, and they look forward to it. I know they're older, but they're still really excited to earn those.
Kids, yeah. And
Yeah.
remind me, what is PBIS?
Positive Based Intervention System.
Okay. I hear all these acronyms and they
Yeah.
escape
Or
me
Positive behavior.
without using
Positive behavior, yeah.
Positive behavior.
Intervention.
Okay. Good, that's a good report.
Any other questions for Ms. Inman on her report?
I would just mention that all the kids, even though you have an intervention strategy, 1 day a week, you've engaged all students in an element of enrichment.
Oh, yes.
Mention
So
that.
on Wednesdays, everyone gets to go to a project class, whether they're in intervention, GT,
Right.
any of that. So everyone is still getting the access to coding, robotics, Project Lead the Way courses, so that everyone still gets that experience on Wednesdays.
Good. And I noticed we also have your lead teacher.
Yes,
Yes.
and so this was for
Last year.
last year when Ms. Inman was not in the building.
Correct.
So, you get a very detailed summary of every single week of the year on the part of Ms. Richards.
She basically kept a running record.
She kept a
Single
record.
day.
But
And
you know,
she was
Yeah.
essential to us in assisting Coach Shelton and Mr. Freeman keep the building going, as Coach Shelton served in the interim role
Right.
last year, and so she was very, very valuable. So you may see things that look different
Yes.
on her schedule
Yes.
or on her description of what she did than you saw on Miss Fournier or you'll
Yes.
see on Miss Robertson. And it was the nature of the beast last year that was what she had to do to keep the building open. Some days she was
Right.
substituting in multiple classes
Yes.
because we didn't have subs.
right.
And so
And
that's,
I am hopeful that it looks different this year because I
Very.
did, in looking over her schedule for the year, it did not look like she did a lot of lead teacher stuff. It looked like she was subbing and, you know, so.
So all of the RTI work that you see that is taking place, that's her. We're working connectively in that, but on Tuesdays, she meets with all of our 5th and 7th grade teachers during their PLC times, and on Thursdays, she meets with all of our 6th and 8th grade teachers. Wednesday, she operates PLCs during our early release, and she is also teaching an advisory period as well as the 7th grade science period. So she is, it looks very different this
Okay,
year.
good.
And she said, "Are you sure they want to see this?" I said, "Yes, show them what you did." I mean,
Well, we like seeing it.
it is what it is, but yes, so we did drop her from the robotics schedule just to kind of free her up a little bit there, but she's working very closely in a lead teacher role as an instructional facilitator.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you would say, is that I would like to see her doing
And she's
some of
doing
that
a
this year.
wonderful job.
Yeah. She's a great teacher.
Yes.
So that was my concern. My only concern was that it didn't look like she had the opportunity to do what she wanted to do in the lead teacher position. So, thanks for that clarification. All right, high school,
All right,
Mr.
so
Janeski.
our building goals currently are still revolving around trying to build an intervention for our 9th and 10th graders, using that advisory time. Based on scores that we're seeing, we've got to move some kids up, plain and simple. For our juniors and seniors, we want to provide access for college and career paths. You really hope that our juniors and seniors have already figured out what they want to do once they leave, but I'm still having to talk to seniors right now who are going, I don't know,
Right,
I don't know.
yeah.
And you say, well, okay, so hopefully using the ACT work keys on the college will give them the opportunity to kind of figure out where their skill set kind of lies. Are they, do they have that personality that they can be a salesman? I was telling them point blank on the first day, I couldn't sell, beans to a farmer. It's not going to matter. But I can do something else. And that's what they've got to kind of figure out. What are their skill sets?
Yes.
And then they need to figure out what opportunities are. And they're not all going to look at college, but we're also looking at National Park as a tech center. On the activities you'll see, like next Monday, they've got a field trip going out for the seniors to go out and kind of look. But they're going to talk to the kids about what National Park offers, whether it's woodworking or marine mechanics, auto mechanics.
Yeah.
Okay, we've already got kids that are involved in welding, the MedPro program, but they also, offer an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and so that's our big moving goal right now. But we have spent probably the last 6 months trying to find something that fits a 9th and 10th grader in an intervention than a middle school or an elementary kid. So we think we may have found something, so we're going to keep moving forward with it.
Good.
You can see on the right-hand side, attendance rates for students, and then attendance rate on staff. And for us, it was at 15th to 31st, so we're still looking at 87%. Disciplinary referrals, I put the dates in here, 15 to 9/15, so we're looking at a month's time.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson and I have been dealing with 47 referrals, 9 bus referrals, and on his end and my end, if it's a referral, it's coming to the office, there'll be something done at that point in time. If a teacher's had a conversation in the hallway, it's not gonna roll into the system.
So referrals are things that have come to the administration.
Correct. So we're gonna code it, it's gonna be coded, and it's gonna be put into e-school, and it's gonna go against our report.
Okay.
Okay? Number of vapes currently, 13
Confiscated?
confiscated.
Okay.
Okay?
And could some of those 47, are you saying out of those 47
Out of
referrals,
47 of
only
those,
13? 13 were
correct.
vapes, so others were behavioral issues?
Correct.
Because you didn't have any fighting, so.
Correct. Yeah, the actual fight came on Friday, so you missed the deadline.
It'll be in next month's report?
It'll be in next month's report,
It
correct.
could even be tardies.
Okay.
Like excessive tardies are a write-up.
Correct.
Okay.
So lots of different things roll into that aren't outlandish behavior.
Okay. Good. Thank you for that clarification.
Could be just talking in class, if that becomes a
But if it's a
repetitive,
behavior,
if it's a
an issue
repetitive
for the
behavior.
teacher, yeah,
Okay.
right. Okay.
Just numbers for your benefit, we have 33 students attending National Park Tech, either in the mid-morning or morning time. I have 36 kids enrolled on-site college English, and we've got 27 kids in college algebra, so they're getting concurrent credit. So they're not only getting credit from us, they're also taking credit from National Park. Once again, Ms. Mushrush has put Ms. Russell and our paras in here, and then Mr. O'Brien is new to the high school. So Ms. Russell actually kind of covers our math inclusion for special ed, and Mr. O'Brien is covering our English. And then I kind of gave you a long list of updates there for activities. We started our MAP test on Monday. We've got the Garland County Voting Commission coming on this Thursday to talk to seniors. When I visited with Ms. Key, I think they're going to try to bring some type of voting ballot so the kids will have an actual on-site, hands-on, because you remember the first time you went to vote, it probably looks a little differently than the chisel and stone I got, but
Yes.
how you mark that, what it looks like.
Yes.
It'd be not, I don't know if they can get the electronic version in here, but that's kind of what their goal is. Friday at pep rally, 9:40 in the morning. Monday is the career fair we talked about. And then Monday night, Ms. Keys is hosting a meeting on how to fill out scholarships with FAFSA, talking to seniors and their parents at 6 o'clock, and then it'll be in the auditorium. And,
That's open to anyone.
Correct. Yes, sir. I mean, it is targeted for our seniors, but
Junior parents.
junior
juniors and
parents, yep, they want to learn it.
start learning now.
Right, because those forms get to be pretty tedious and
Yes.
very confusing at times.
Mm-hmm.
So the attendance on the staff
I was gonna
was
ask-
16 days. So I know this is
Why is it
behind, but has that, in your estimation, gotten better? I mean,
87 seems low.
that to me, that's
For the
very
first 2
low.
weeks of school.
Do
Do
we
you have
have
some-
like a
Maternity leave?
bunch of sickness or?
Yeah, we have.
Remember, I
two-
have one that's on
Right.
indefinite leave.
Let her out.
Right.
So
But
that's-
counting that, to me,
Right.
87%.
But I also have, with the number of staff members, that percentage is going to get hit even with one out, so. And that's not going to include school business. So it's just
Right.
absence.
Just absence.
Correct.
We have 4 people on jury duty at this time who are in the jury pools between here and and Saline County, and that impacts they're not factored into this number, but that's as far as actually being present.
I mean, just a simple question, I'm with Dana, that's low, so there's gotta be some kind of explanation.
For the first 2 weeks
For
of
the
school,
first
you'd
2
think
weeks of school,
everybody would be
we have
there.
90% of people here.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm giving you the information.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are happy to have that information.
Glad to have it.
Yeah.
And then, Mr. J, you've got Ms. Robertson's
Yep.
lead teacher report that you.
Master of all trades and a master of everything else from, once again, guys, last year, like myself, she got into more classes than we probably ever planned to do, having to sub. Okay, so, I mean, she was a great help, helping us getting to that portion. You'll also remember I started my year last year with Mr. Robertson out for
Right.
COVID quarantine, so she was very valuable. Did a lot of lessons working with Mr. Lively, Mr. Craver, Ms. Williams, and she's got some sample works in here. Working that role as a lead teacher facilitator, working on those questions to increase the rigor and relevance in the classroom.
Right.
Help our teachers understand the importance of the rigor and the relevance. Working on some strategies for DOK levels, so that while teachers are making those lessons, making those lesson plans, making those quizzes, they understand level 1 has got to move to 2s and 3s.
And I know last year was, you know, and it may still be an issue with subs, like we're not able to, you know, I don't know if subs are still hard to come by this year or not.
No, we're doing great right now.
Hope
Has it-
not, we only had 87% of people here 2 weeks.
Yeah, my only encouragement, and I think y'all know how the board feels about that, is that the lead teachers need to be doing lead teacher things, and as much as we can keep them out of subbing, you know, we need to try to do that, just so that we can fully utilize them, and I know that that's your intentions too, so, and of course, that's what they wanna do. They're willing to sub if you need them, but their passion is probably, I'm assuming, to push in and help teachers, so.
Ms. Robertson even helped us in the spring as we were trying to get everything set up for ACT Aspire and ACT, which Ms. Henson was doing along with Ms. Keys, trying to get all those modifications pushed in, and everything was ready to go.
Yeah.
Everybody understands like why we wanted the information.
Sure.
Yes, just to keep us in the loop, I mean.
Well, I mean, and this is coming out of ESSER funds right now.
Right.
So we will
eventually, we either do away with it
Or
we
keep
absorb it.
paying, yeah.
And, you know, in all fairness to the board and kind of where I'm at with the whole thing is they want ample time to evaluate the progress of the programming.
Yes.
For them to make a decision when those funds are exhausted in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think this is something we need like monthly.
The board, the building.
Just FYI. I mean,
I'm not on the lead teacher.
Not the lead teacher.
The lead teachers,
Right, the lead
maybe
teacher
quarterly on lead teachers, but we do like that building report on a monthly basis, because that has a lot of good information in it for
Yeah,
us.
I like
So,
the report.
yeah, I like the way it's laid out, so.
The only thing that I want a little clarity on is I've noticed one report kind of talks about upcoming activities. The other two reports, would you prefer, you want to see what's occurred or what's coming up?
I think they all meant to have upcoming, but the dates.
Because of.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think for all of us too, just if it's ever inconvenient, you don't each have to come present this.
I mean, it's
If we
nice to
just
have
get it.
you here.
Oh, we love having you,
Yes,
but
because
if you
we-
have something else, we don't need each person, I mean, as long as we have it.
We
Is
are
the point.
happily in attendance as requested.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't.
It's nice to be able to ask you questions face to face
Yeah.
when you can be here. So we do
Well,
love having you in the room.
Some
with us.
stuff on that report won't change, you know, that's something Katie and I were talking about, like our goals are our goals. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
we kind of set those for the year, and
Yeah.
the other stuff, I mean, we set our template together as a group and we're able to fill them out pretty quickly, so.
Yeah.
And it's good for us to see the information too, we don't look at it, we see it as a whole, but to see it on one paper, kind of.
Yeah. See it through and the lens of, okay, how's the board, how's an outsider looking in perceive this
Right.
in the report? So, yeah. Thank you. And we may tweak that as the year goes along, things that we want to see on there. So,
Yeah,
but
we're gonna make a different one for each month, so if there is something you want
Okay.
us to plug in one of those boxes, just like we're working out.
awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
each month you'll get a new link, it won't be a continuum, we wanted to highlight that next month.
Yes.
So it'll be its own report, the template will remain the same, but they may add some additional content.
Good. Thank you.
All right, then just a couple of other things. I had LinkedIn, this was, I know you've been interested, this is our
Yes.
park notification system, and this is 1 week's worth of activities, so 34,743 activities
Analyzed.
analyzed. So that's emails, searches, assignments that students may have typed. This was from the 9th of September. If it rolled over to the next week after 9/11, there was a dramatic jump in violence and weapons and anxiety as students did assignments reflecting on the events of 9/11.
Oh,
I thought you had
9/11?
said a while back, y'all kind of try to go see, well, was there an
What was
assignment, a
it?
Yes.
paper? or- Yeah.
But these 24 items were uncovered, and I will say that, Ms. Friesen, you did have an item that triggered.
I know, I was gonna confess, I showed up on the bark report.
What'd you do?
I think the whole board did, because of our conversation, we had a conversation around weapons or something. Was that it, Mr. Freeman?
Yeah, so that popped up.
Yeah, he ended up on the bark list.
So I wanted to share
Remains under the filter.
those numbers with you, and then as we talk about numbers, I will tell you that the last 28 days on our Facebook page, we've had a post reach of 138,235. So that means our post appeared that many times on other people's pages on Facebook.
Good.
And of that, 27,626 people engaged with our post. So they
Wow.
clicked on links or they liked or
That's awesome.
rounded the post. So,
really
the vast majority of those posts are cross-posted to our website in
Yes.
the Thrill Share. So
Mhm.
we have a pretty good range of coverage there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
On those 24, well, what's the process? Like,
So, all the administrators and the school counselors and the mental health counselors on staff receive notifications when we get those mark notifications. And so then we look into it to see what it was and if it was something that the counselor needs to handle, the counselor handles it. If it's a discipline concern, then the administrators handle it. If it's an emergent self-harm issue, then we jump on it real quick.
so somebody's contacted on each one of those?
Yes.
Well, it depends on what it actually was.
Right, but I mean,
So-
if somebody's looking into it.
Yeah.
Somebody from the website contacts you? or-
We get an email.
You get an email, and then
Every
we have to
day?
ensure that someone
Once a
follows
day?
up with that
Every
email.
time.
Or as it happens.
24
As
times
it happens.
that whole group
As
got
it
an
happens.
email.
Okay,
The whole
and
group.
then do you have a group that you come together and
No,
discuss this email?
No,
How do we make
it-
sure this email doesn't get dropped?
Right, so it goes to all of us, and then the middle school students are picked up by the middle school staff.
Okay.
The elementary students by elementary and high school. by high
So,
school.
we're expecting the administrator of the middle school or the elementary to follow through and say, okay, has someone addressed this, looked in, wherever, make sure it's, I just don't want it to get dropped if it
Right.
gets to that level.
We don't either.
Okay,
And
I
so-
know we don't.
And so some of those will come, we talked about this today in our safety committee, some of those will come in the evening because they have access
Kids are
to
at
their
home
school
with their Chromebook.
devices at
On
home.
weekend.
And I get up at 4, so I
That's a
see
good
the
time
mark
for a nap.
notifications that come in. Do what?
That's a good time to get in front of that.
Yeah. So I get up at 4 and I check the mark notifications to see what has been there. And generally, it's someone else, because it records who opens the mark notification.
So
if
you know
it's a
who's
high
seen
school,
it.
then I know who
Okay.
has seen it.
Okay, that's
But
good.
we
And
were good.
does that assume that Dr. Murphy handles all the bark notifications for
No.
board members?
They are polite enough to not notify me. Definitely.
The numbers might be higher if we were on there for a couple.
Yeah.
And so then I had linked this in as we were preparing the schedule, and as you know, our district testing coordinator passed away several
weeks
days
ago.
ago. And so she actually prepared this document for us back right after school got started. She was with us for the first couple of weeks. And so it's a very lengthy document with all of the tests that we will be giving over the course of the year. And so we are very fortunate that our staff has looked at how they can pitch in and help with the testing. And so you see the window for iStation for the fall is open right now. The MAP testing in NWA, that window is open right now, 3 through 10. And so the principals, their counselors, the lead teachers have all pitched in to help us facilitate those assessments. The dynamic learning maps is the self-contained assessment that qualified students take in the 3rd through the 10th grade. Ms. Mushrush, her staff, along with Ms. Keys, who's been testing coordinator in the past, are working to get that fall window taken care of. You go down through there, ASVAB coming up, the ACT work keys, the PSAT, Ms. Keys, Ms. Robertson are working to facilitate those. We have the civics exam. Ms. Keys will help us get that covered. The ELPA right now are Mrs. Freeman is helping us get the preliminary testing done to identify our English language learners, and then she'll be able to help us in the spring with the ELPA. So we have kind of distributed as much of that out as we can. The ACT Aspire in April and May, and the thing about our assessment system, Dr. Murphy talks about the number of students we have with special education identification, or they have a 504 plan, or they're dyslexic. And so every one of those students, an English language learner, every one of those students has to be individually inputted into the system so that they receive the modifications that they need. That's something that has fallen primarily to the district testing coordinator, and we'll have to, as Mr. J said about the test last year, Ms. Robertson, Ms. Keys jumped in to help with that last year. There were just so many modifications. And then the AP testing in the spring of the year, Ms. Keys and Ms. Henson worked on that, primarily Ms. Keys. So we have to have a district testing coordinator, and we have a motion before you in the personnel section. I know there's concern about the amount of time it will take. And, it's something that we have to name someone district testing coordinator. Someone has to go through all of the training. That training primarily is online, outside of the school day. It can be done. So that's a piece of it. Ms. Henson had started that training, had done some of it, but we can't count,
that now.
those pieces now.
Right.
So it's pretty much a full-time job.
Right.
Ms. Henson was teaching one class and then district testing coordinator. And so for this 1 year, to keep from having to change student schedules significantly, replace someone else, we're asking to just fill this on an interim basis and distribute the responsibilities out to building test coordinators. It's going to be difficult and time consuming, but our folks have stepped up to this.
Will it be the goal of hiring someone,
For next year?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. This was
you just think we can't get anybody for this year?
It would probably, the best bet would be someone there would be internal people interested.
Okay.
And then if you hire internally, you've
You'd have to
created
fill
another
the teacher.
opening.
Okay.
And so,
Do you think there's any external or that are qualified that would be interested? Oh, my only thing is a high school counselor has got a full-time job.
Yeah.
Of making sure our kids are prepared to go on.
And counseling.
And counseling and scholarships, like you said earlier, and I just see adding the testing on top of that. I just see it being a lot for one person.
right.
Maybe we should talk about it when we get there.
Okay. We could do that.
But I did want to share that schedule with you and give you
Is there anything
that
you can
background.
allude to within the schedule as you distribute the duties and the roles? Is there anything quantitative that you could place to where because this is gonna have an impact, you know, you're bragging on the ability of our lead teachers, and now we've had, the lead teachers will have to support us in this role if we distribute the role.
I know.
So.
You're gonna be taking them out of
You know,
being a
last year
teacher.
it was quarantine, absenteeism, other things, and so in this given instance, it won't keep us from having a productive year, but I would want you to understand that as we distribute this out, they are assisting us along with the leadership team and building level counselors, K-12. Everyone is pulling on this rope.
Yeah.
And so we just have to be mindful of that, that it's going to require a lot of people taking on this workload and not an individual per se taking the workload on based on being titled district testing coordinator is what I would allude to.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll bear that in mind. Is that all for your report, Mr. Campbell?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Diamond Bailey.
Diamond?
Yes, Diamond Baylor.
I will tell you, yes, you're welcome to speak to us. You have about 3 minutes or so. And as long as you're not talking about a specific person.
I know.
You can speak freely about positions or issues, okay? I just want to make sure you're clear.
Yes, I'm fully aware.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
I did my research.
Good.
So I just kind of want to discuss with y'all my concerns with the safety and with the communication between the school and us parents.
Okay.
I know there's been a couple of incidents in this short amount of time that were brought to my attention from my daughter, and I was caught off guard because I had no idea that these incidences occurred. One of them was the gun issue. It looks like communication was sent out via Facebook and I guess via an app. I kind of have a problem with that. I'm not a Facebook person. Somewhat aware of the app. It looks like it got lost between all the other things that were added that go out in this app, all the activities and the honors and stuff that they do, that it all gets put in there.
Right.
My big concern is that when it comes to incidents with safety, such as the gun issue, I personally feel like those should be, us parents should be contacted via automated phone system, email communication, or even a text message. I'm going to speak from personal experiences. Just a few months ago, we had the incidents in Uvalde, Texas. That is personal to me because I have family there. So I did not know about the incident that occurred on school. So when I heard about it, I was a little upset that I wasn't notified via a text message or a phone call or an email. It was sent out via Facebook and via an app. I think the app's a great idea, but not for something of that magnitude. My daughter came to me and voiced some concerns of some things that have been going on, some incidences that are drug related on the campus. I'm a former medical field. I understand that you have HIPAA. I know HIPAA laws. I know that there's other laws and regulations that you cannot mention names. You cannot say specifically what the incident is, but I feel like if we have a drug-related problem on campus, I feel like the staff and the parents need better communication. I feel like there's a disconnect. Speaking to my student.
Can you elaborate just a little?
Okay,
Like
so.
Like, what kind of information are you looking for in that regard?
I understand if there's a one incident, drug-related, isolated incident, you're not obligated to tell anybody.
Like
To
if
speak
somebody-
to tell us parents that there's something going on.
Like,
But if-
obviously, if somebody had marijuana on their person, their parents would be notified.
Right, correct. And that's, but it seems like there's been a multiple incidences here these last few weeks, in such a short time span. Drugs trying to be sold on campus, drugs being distributed on campus. Unfortunately, I had to watch a video of a student being pulled out of a vehicle and put onto a stretcher that was drug related. That video was reported. They quickly took that down, so it did not circulate, thank goodness, because that was very disturbing as a parent to see, much less another student. So with that being said, I'm also concerned about the counseling. If any of the students who witnessed that, did they get counseling? Is there any counseling or anything that's being offered to these kids that are being peer pressured? Another concern, of course, for me is, sorry, I had my notes down, but I just do a little better here. But it was the counseling, and has there been a tip line or another form for these students to report these incidences? I can tell you my student was one of them, that they were trying to get her to buy drugs. Of course, thank God she listens to us, and we parent her, and she said no and did not.
And to answer that initial question, yes, there is an anonymous tip line
Okay.
for anybody, parents or students. Is that correct?
I was not aware of that.
Front page of
Pull
the
it
website.
up on the website.
On the Fountain Lake, on the main page of the Fountain Lake School website, not the Facebook page, the actual website,
Okay.
there is a number there for an anonymous tip line for anybody
Okay.
to call
Good.
and leave
Did not know
information. Mr.
There it
Campbell's
is.
gonna pull it up and show you where it is.
Okay.
So, can you go back to the homepage?
Yes.
Just so we can show the general public.
I see.
Anonymous tip line right there.
Okay.
So you can
Okay.
submit it that way. And, we probably should make more people aware of that, so they
Yes,
would.
I had no
so they
idea.
would know. Yep.
I have no
And-
idea.
There is a mass text that goes out, because I got
Text
one.
went out.
Yeah.
I got one.
My information has been the same. This is our second year here. I have never received a text message, a phone call, or an email about any of the incidences that occurred last year or this year.
So that's something you could,
Yeah, so after that, if you wanna, we can step out there after we finish here, but I can pull up on the system to see if where that text went, did it go to spam, did the phone call get dropped, whatever happened. But if your system is correct in our Eastville database, that's where we pull every night for all of our calls, all of our texts and everything. I did pull up on my phone here, August 18th, I don't have at 3:30 p.m. that text did go out about the airsoft pistol.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Never, I
I
never.
wanted to
So
say
you-
airsoft.
so
Yes.
we appreciate your comments there, and I would encourage you, while you're here, to meet with Hayden, and let's make sure they got your correct information in the E-system, just so you can get those in the future.
Yes.
I do hear what you're saying about the safety issues, and about, drug-related issues. Obviously, those can't be, it's harder to communicate those. You're not
I
gonna
know.
wanna send out
Yeah,
a mass
I know.
text saying, hey,
Well, and we came from a bigger city, and where this was a big problem, hence the reason we left and decided to come back to a small town. I grew up small town.
Yeah.
A smaller community, everybody is, a little more, we know each other, we
Right.
tell each other, you've got somebody looking out for your kid that you know.
Yes.
That's played a major part in that.
Good.
I have a middle schooler right now that is undergoing chemo, so I've been out a lot.
Right.
I like Fountain Lake. I just feel like there is a disconnect.
And I hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
and my children, this was not their school of choice. They wanted to move schools. I made them come here this year simply because of the convenience, because I spend a lot of time at Arkansas Children's and I rely on our bus to get my kids to and from school so that they don't have to miss, and it's easier for us. I would really hate to have to move all 3 of my children out of the school district. I have 2 more to follow. And we also have 3 of my family members who are currently working here at the school. And I strongly believe that if we leave, they're gonna follow.
And we hope that your experience here will be such that you will feel good about it by the time, you know, let's get into the, you know, the details with Hayden and with Mr. Campbell so that we can make sure you're getting accurate, timely information. And the board does take those issues from our community and our parents very, you know, we take those under consideration. So we will do our best to continue to look in the means that we communicate with our parents. And we appreciate you bringing those things to our attention. And do meet with Hayden or Mr. Campbell while you're here on site, just to make sure you're in that loop, okay?
And then on the drugs sold on campus, I mean, if no one reports it, they're not gonna know about it. I don't know if they know about it, but if it's not anonymously tipped or.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did your daughter report that incident?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
Yes, it was reported.
Good.
Unfortunately, it got swept under the rug because the person was never, it was kind of out of sight, out of mind. We didn't see it. One of those incidences, which is.
I will just say, my last comment, sorry. Don't assume that it was swept under the rug. Just because you may not hear a follow-up, it could still be something that's being discussed or being worked on, so.
Well, first it's gonna have to be proven.
That's the problem
Okay,
right there.
so
That's
we're
where
gonna
the
have to-
problem comes in.
Yeah, so.
Is
but
if they
I'm
were.
just-
Yeah.
You brought it to my attention, we're gonna investigate it.
Yes.
We have individuals hired to investigate those issues. That doesn't mean they swept it under the rug. They may not have been able to, in this given instance, prove it, and I'm just totally speaking based on what I've observed and heard.
Right.
In the context of representing the district, when we have any emergency formulated communication, it does go out district-wide in the via form of a text, and in this given instance, that was sent as a text, and there's something either in the settings of your phone or the phone number that you've given the school, otherwise you'd have received the same text that over 2,000 other people did.
Right, and that's what, and I called and checked. My number is the same as last year, and it's in the system.
But we do have
So-
people that block based on their settings in their phone. So, I mean, it's something we can work out and help you.
Yes,
Right.
we can definitely help you with that. And we
Anything
appreciate
on Facebook is on our website. The only reason it got to Facebook is because it was on our website. Our website automatically shares to Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook is not our method of communication,
No.
our website is.
A lot of
But
people.
it funnels it into social media because so many people use that.
Okay, that's also a good point. And now you know where to find that anonymous tip line also.
Yes, I
So,
have no idea.
Be sure to share that with your family members and, you know, your kids and things like that. And we
Do you have
thank
a middle
you.
school or a high
Thank
school?
you for sharing.
I have one in each grade. In
So,
each school.
At the middle
elementary,
school, I
middle.
host a community town hall each quarter.
Okay.
And so we reviewed all of those communication systems with the parents and walked them through sign up to help, you know, better inform. So we are doing those things in our town hall meetings.
Okay,
If you
and
ever want to come.
maybe you'll be able to catch a town hall meeting too and voice some concerns there. But Diamond, we thank you very much for coming and sharing those things with us because they are important to us and we want to always be listening to our communities.
Well, thank you. I got
Thank
some
you.
negative feedback. People told me not to show up, it'd fall on deaf ears, but I'm gonna have a little faith that I've been heard today and that you guys will take us seriously.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
as I
ma'am.
said, we left our city life and moved out here for a safer and better living.
And I hope that you will be able to 1,000% agree that it was a good choice.
I
When
hope
it's
so.
all said and done. Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for
Uh-huh.
listening.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Is there anyone else on public comment?
No, just you to look at it. If you want to look at it.
all right, let's do some new business here. Brian has a motion for us.
Motion to approve the 2022-2023 FLSD budget. Specifically, we got A, 22-23 expenditure budget summary, 22-23 revenue budget summary, 22-23 Arkansas financial report and budget.
And these are the state required budgets that we have to send in every year, so it's nothing that,
Well,
there's no surprises on there. It's things we've all discussed over the course of time. So are there any questions from board members? If not, the motion is to approve the 22-23 FLSD budget, including the expenditure budget summary, revenue budget summary, and Arkansas financial report and budget. All in favor, say aye. Aye. None opposed. That motion is approved 4-0. Next motion.
Motion to approve the proposal for vape detector system devices from Fast Solutions in the amount of $44,562.50.
Okay, so, with the prevalence of vapes on campus, we've been talking about this. I know some other schools have introduced these vape detectors. So we're kind of familiar with what this proposal entails. Hayden, I think we had a chance to look at the fact that we're doing this in the high school and the middle school.
Right,
And elsewhere on campus.
So we're doing every bathroom in middle school, and then majority, now when we say high school, high school is very widespread, agri,
Right.
auditorium.
Right.
So we're not hitting every single high school bathroom, but your most popular one that have traffic day in, day out are getting these installed.
So how many here?
Let's see, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 8 in middle school and the rest are on high school.
And a total of 31.
We did some
Right.
math.
No, I'm
So-
saying like, how many won't be in the high school or vice versa, middle school? in the
Yeah, so
bathroom?
31 minus
I think
8.
there's 10 in the middle school.
Was there?
Yes.
Okay.
10 in the middle school.
That's right, so we included the nurse bathroom as well, that
And
went
then
away.
21 in the high school buildings.
Right.
Multiple buildings.
And so pretty much what this is a Halo system. It's really one of the better systems out there. No system is completely foolproof or, 100% accurate, so it'll go do the best job as it can. There's a lot of configuration on the back side of things. We'll have to go in and enter what type of chemicals we're using in our bathrooms, so that these sensors base off of ppm, particles per matter. So what we're doing chemically wise will affect these sensors, so we have to be across the board using the same product. Placement of these is key. If we have any airflow going on in the bathrooms, next to vents, next to returns, registers, it will do some, false events. So we can be very particular where we put these. This quote is turnkey, so this is not John and Mark installing these.
Okay.
So
the professionals who do this day in and day out will
Correct.
decide the best placement.
right, and two, getting wire. So these things are powered over PoE, which is powered off our network equipment.
Right.
So, some of these buildings are some long runs, getting wire from the 3rd floor of middle school all the way down to the nurse's office. You're looking at 200 plus feet of cable. So doing all that legwork, getting your cable there is all included in this price.
So everything's included?
Correct.
Okay.
The turnkey.
What kind of alarm is it?
So we can do email alerts / text alerts. We are advised not to do the text as it may be a little bit delayed. That kind of goes back to carrier response times.
Is there an audible?
What's that?
Is there an audible alarm?
I don't think there is. So the majority of schools just rely on email-based alerts.
Okay.
So right when the sensor detects an event, detects a vape incident, it immediately sends an email to all members of the leadership team. I'm sure we can break it down. We are paying for the cloud management piece where we can manage all these units in one dashboard. So I'm assuming we could probably break it down, but I'm not going to demo that just yet. We do have some experience with this. We have demoed the Halo system probably 2 or 3 times in the last 10 years.
So what's our protocol when it goes off?
It triggers the camera. So the halo goes off, it
So when
triggers
they
the
walk
camera.
out, you would see.
So if it's more
Camera's
than
running.
Camera's already running,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But it automatically triggers a notification there too, so you don't have to, you have a dot.
You don't have to go
So
back
you
and
have
look
a
at
time
cameras.
stamp, you have a timestamp from an email.
That's the
Step
easiest
out,
way.
and there'll be the rest,
Yeah.
there'll be the
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, if it was me pulling that first, I'm looking at the incident time, oh, I got a alert at 2:32, I pull that camera up, scroll 2:32, there's my.
Okay.
there's my
Which
person.
camera? Like
So
when
we
they're
at least
off?
have a group.
Okay, so,
Yeah, not identified.
yeah.
a camera as you exit.
So is there already cameras at every one of these
On
spots?
entry.
Yeah, you know,
That's what I was wondering.
we could probably add a few more like in your gym, you know, there's only one in that lobby, but for the majority, like in your buildings, yes.
Okay.
So your outside areas need a little bit of work, but it's something we can do.
Our intention would be to further provide support and create another deterrent. We don't believe that this is going to alleviate or solve our issue.
Right.
We do find that potentially this could be something else that we could possibly deter this type of activity from occurring in school.
Correct. Correct.
So
I
if
think
we
it-
help Mr. J in the 36, or whatever he had, 13.
Yeah, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an excessive amount since the opening of school, and it kind of coincides some of the issues that you're hearing from community.
Yeah. So, is there like if you approve this, what's the timeline?
I think at the top, I think this will show a 3 month turnaround time as well, just for equipment.
3 months on equipment?
I think so, is that at the very top?
And then,
I'm almost positive he told me 3 months.
on equipment, and
Just work
then
around
probably
here.
another couple of weeks to a month of install.
It'd probably take them at least 2 weeks,
So it'd be.
So maybe over winter break.
possibly.
Okay, and, so, yeah, equipment is still an issue for everybody, I guess.
It is, across the board, I mean, we ordered our new wireless units that you have in here. We ordered them over a year and a half ago, and they finally arrived this summer. So, I mean, everything is, we're looking at bus cameras we ordered a year ago. We're hoping to get those here in the next few months. So it's just anything with the chip shortage is still really hurting us.
Right. Board members, do y'all have questions for Hayden? Okay, let me get back over here too. If there are no other questions, the motion is to approve the proposal for a vape detector system and devices from Fast Solutions in the amount of $44,562.50. All in favor, say aye. Aye. None opposed, that motion is approved 4-0.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the resignation from Martha Coatney effective September 14th, 2022.
Any questions? Board members, you have had a chance to read her resignation letter. If there are no questions, the motion is to accept the resignation from Martha Coatney effective September 14th, 2022. All in favor, say aye. Aye. None opposed, that motion is approved 4-0.
Motion to hire Paula Evans as a FACES after-school aide for the 22-23 school year.
Any questions? Motion to hire Paula Evans as a FACES after-school aide for the 22-23 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed, that motion is approved 4-0.
Motion to hire Carmen Keys as interim district testing coordinator for the 22-23 school year and be paid 14% of her salary, $9,464.52 as compensation for the use of her preparation period to fulfill this role.
Okay, is that 0.14%? Because it says.
It should be
14%. It should, okay.
It shouldn't be there.
Well, that's what I wondered when it said 0.14%. I thought, okay, that's weird.
Should be 14.
And that's a lot of salary, if that's 0.14.
You want to apply?
Yeah.
So,
What do I need for credentials?
yeah, that's 0.14. Okay, so, how, you've already said that you're gonna basically split it up. You're gonna have multiple people helping with this. So is Carmen being paid a stipend, but nobody else is?
Carmen is being paid for her prep period.
Okay,
When we pay people for their prep period, that's the percentage we use. And so for her prep period time, so that she's not taking away in her counselor's role from student contact time,
okay,
she will because there's the counseling law that limits
Right.
to 10%
Yes.
the amount of time you can spend during student contact time doing administrative things like
Yes.
testing coordinator.
Yes.
Which is in the law.
Yes.
So this is outside of the student contact time, during her prep time, that we're compensating her for being district testing coordinator. And number one, we have to have a district testing coordinator who goes through all of that training. And as I said earlier, that training can be done online, outside. She can do it at night, she can do it when she
Okay.
chooses. Okay, that's got to be done. That piece of it, compliance-wise, has to be completed.
Is there a certain day that has to be done?
It's ongoing. There's some of it now because there are windows open now. There's some of it
Kind
in the
of based on the
fall.
window of opening of the testing.
Right. So that's why we have to name someone the district testing coordinator, and they're ultimately responsible for the testing program.
And that person has to do the training.
And that person has to
Okay.
do the training. And it was basically a full position of .86 on Miss Henson because
Right.
she was teaching a class one period of the day. So
Oh, okay.
so we just basically reversing that. And so we have to do something to get through this year.
Okay.
And even when you have a district testing coordinator, you have building testing coordinators as well to
Even
help.
when we had Mrs.
Even when we have Mrs.
Right.
Simpson, we have to have building testing coordinators as well to help facilitate the process. So is it ideal? No. Is Ms. Keys willing to help out the district in this way? She is willing, she's not eager to do it, it's not something that she's jumping through hoops to do. She's done it before.
It's a lot of work.
Before the law changed, Ms. Keys was our
Right.
district testing coordinator.
Yes.
So it's a natural step to look to someone with the experience to fill the role. Can she fill the role and still do what she needs to do? Only if we spread some of that minutia that is a part of the testing program out among many hands. And so that's where we are.
Okay.
Is
Questions?
it ideal? I'm telling you, it's not
No, it's
ideal.
not,
We
but-
believe.
No, I know, I don't feel like it's ideal, but I do feel like we've utilized the lead teachers for a lot of testing. Like if you go back to last year's, just on the lead teacher stuff, they did a lot of testing.
Yeah. I hope they don't have to do all that.
Well, I will tell you this, when you have as many people with modifications as you have,
Mhm.
every certified person that we can get our hands on during the full-blown testing has to do small group testing, has to do individual testing. So if we don't have enough, I'm up in the library conference room with 2 kids or 1 kid testing.
Okay.
Because when that full-blown window's open through the ACT Aspire, we have to do the individual testing.
Yeah.
And so it takes, and you have to be certified to do it. So we call in as many certified subs as we can find, and we pull as many bodies as we can find, and we go through the testing
Get it,
process.
yeah.
So that's a big part of what you're seeing there.
I think the hardest thing for me is not Carmen per se, but I mean, it just, this community historically, let me think about this. There is a lot of work that counseling position has or should do. You hear about it every year. I've got a senior this year. I legitimately, I don't know, I just had some concerns of how that's all gonna.
If a counselor is capable
Right.
of assuming that many extra
Right.
duties.
I know that what like on my deal is we had the testing, before we didn't have a testing coordinator, we had it spread out throughout the council.
Right.
Correct?
Until the
Yes.
state law changed.
But even then, they were overloaded.
The counselors.
So, and then we went to, I know we had somebody that did it before that left. She did something else, I can't remember.
Assistant principal.
Yeah, so assistant principal doing.
Right, because we tried to pair at halftime,
Mhm.
AB,
And it was
and
too
halftime
much.
testing.
And now we're gonna put it with the high school counselor that is responsible, I feel is responsible for making sure our kids have all the stuff at their fingertips to graduate, make sure they're graduating on time, make sure there's scholarships out there, make sure they're, you know, like, she got something this week or next week, making sure that those kids are aiming towards graduation, whether they go on to something else, college or a trade, like Mr. Janaski was saying.
Mhm.
I just don't feel like you can utilize both in the same person. Me personally, it's just,
Did y'all have other options? I know she's done it before, you know. Are there other,
I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's not gonna be done at the effect
That you're seeking.
that we want, that we all should want for our kids.
right, because she's got
I feel like the
all the
seniors this year
counselors do.
they will be, you know, maybe not as much time spent with them as, that's just me.
No, I hear you, because all the counselors have a full plate with their counseling work. And I know you probably just went with Ms. Keys because she's done it before and probably has the most experience.
Right, well, we feel as though she's gonna hold the skill set to deliver that. Anyone else that, regardless of their certification, when they step into that role, is, it's gonna be a pretty significant learning curve, and so you're either going to enter in and move them from an interim role into a full-time role with the investment that you seek, or
And then you
you.
lose whatever they're doing now.
Right.
Okay,
So
correct.
somebody's gonna, without hiring another body,
It's not a budgetary impact so much because
it's just-
I'm not concerned about the budgetary allocation.
No.
Nor this. I hear exactly what you're saying. We had a significant discussion around this, and I did go to him and talk about the time sensitivity of making this decision because we are already
In
into
testing.
testing. And now we're working with formatives. We could probably live through that. But I don't know, coming back to you again in another month, we only really have one person on campus that holds a skill set to deliver the testing without a steep learning curve.
and that
Right
makes
now, there's
sense.
no other option.
That makes sense.
Can we put it out there, post it, see what we get, see if we have somebody that,
But you're already into testing.
oh, I know that, but, I mean, we're either gonna take them out of the classroom or
Out of the counseling office.
from somewhere else,
I mean, if you take internally, you're taking from something.
somewhere.
So I think, you know, at least, get her in there so she can be helping out now with testing that's already started. And, you know, if the administration wants to post it and look for somebody at semester that's got experience, wants to come work for us, or if they, you know, let's get somebody in there for now, is my opinion, just so we can have that continuity with the testing that's
I
gonna go
concur
on.
because spring of the year is a big load on a high school counselor. When
Big.
she's getting ready to make sure all the kids have the credits,
Mhm.
know what they're doing, that's gonna be a big load on her in the spring of the year.
Mhm.
If we can get started, I concur with you that we've gotta have someone in that position.
I agree too. I think what we're kind of talking about, we're on the conversation, so I'll just say it.
Yeah,
Okay. We as a board have made it a goal that people are going to be held accountable for their positions.
right.
So we do what we have to do, but we need to keep in mind that at some point, you have these positions, somebody's going to be held accountable for pitfalls. Because that's our directive.
So I hate to place somebody in a situation
Where they can't
Set them up for
because
failure.
that is going forward, we're not accepting inefficiency
Right.
in any position. So that's why I said it's not Carmen, it's just like we're stuck in this situation. I hate to put somebody in where we're now like, well, you didn't do your job.
I just look at the previous times we had the testing coordinator paired with something else. It wasn't
But
done.
what choice do we have?
I agree that I don't think we have a choice.
Right.
No,
I mean, it's very unfortunate that we lost Miss Henson.
Yes.
So we have to get somebody that can step into that role immediately, because is having somebody do all the training, is that a requirement
Yes, ma'am.
by the state or?
So she'll use her prep period. I mean, ideally, I know you said this, but we could expect that other than that prep period,
She's got to continue.
she's
Do it at home at
continuing
night.
to dedicate to the other needs.
Right.
She can use her prep period or after school / evening or weekend to do the training, which is online.
And we did have this conversation with all building administrators and kind of, okay, here we are in this situation.
What do we do?
Can we work through this? So it really wasn't made in isolation. The problem with it is we had to make a decision and you went to them Friday and kind of had these conversations, and so that's why you got the recommendation this morning.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna read the motion and we're gonna vote however you see fit. Motion to hire Carmen Keys as interim district testing coordinator for the 22-23 school year and be paid 14% of her salary, $9,464.52 as compensation for the use of her prep period to fulfill this role. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is that an aye? All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, the motion is approved 3-1. Sorry, you don't talk loud, I sometimes can't hear
I don't talk loud. Do
you.
you know me?
Not always. Okay, we have one more, motion. Herman?
We're gonna do this.
You can read the motion.
Can we read it
in open
then?
session, and then
Okay.
we'll go to closed session.
Motion to expel student number 5001127 from Fountain Lake School for one full school year effective 9/6/2022.
Okay, because this does involve a student, and we will have to be discussing names and details, we will adjourn to executive session, and then we will reconvene
Right.
after our discussion. So the board is adjourned to executive session. You can stay if you like. You are not required to stay, but we will be voting on this one. This is our last motion of the evening. So